edition of the Subway Series starts tonight at Yankee Stadium. We urge you to take public transportation to all the games of the Subway Series. But for the ball players, well, they've got other modes of transportation. The Mets arrived early today on the bus. The Yankees had their secret Batmobile entrance to Yankee Stadium. And so everybody's here and ready to go for the first of four between the Mets and the Yankees. That means a chance for the skippers to trade notes, a chance for some old friends to get together and exchange thoughts on tonight's game. The Mets and the Yankees all set to go. At Yankee Stadium in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball tonight. The Mets play the New York Yankees. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bronx. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets open their four-game home-and-home series against the Yankees. Before we get to the series, though, the Mets made news today. They've moved Henry Mejia from the starting rotation into the bullpen. 23-year-old Rafael Montero is going to start on Wednesday night at Citi Field against the Yankees, and Jake DeGrom has been pulled from his start at Vegas. He might be up in the Mets bullpen in the next few days.
Boy, I love it. You know, after 36 games, you look at your ball club, you try to realize what can you do to make it better. There aren't any hitters on the horizon. The Mets could use some. Instead, you'll go and opt for some pitching. Mejia, to me, plays much better in a two-inning role. You look at Montero, he's just coming up 5 2/3 of no-hit pitching in Las Vegas. He's been outstanding, and he's on his way, and he deserves to be on his way. And Jake DeGrom is one of those guys we saw in spring training. He could either help you in the rotation or in the bullpen.
So Montero's first Major League start is going to be against Masahiro Tanaka, who hasn't lost a game in 2 years. That'll be on Wednesday night. As for tonight, the Mets and Yankees get started after a Subway Series last year that saw the Mets sweep 4 games. This year, it's going to be the final chance for the Mets to face their perennial nemesis, Derek Jeter.
Well, Derek Jeter, 20-year career. He's going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And you know what? In a long list of Yankees, they've had so many world championships. He has been a big game player, making big plays, whether defensively or in the field. All-time Yankee hitter, class act, the captain of this team. It seems like just yesterday when he broke in as a rookie, and here he is now as last year, his farewell season. And you know what? This is something special for him, and it's always something special for me. Particularly here at Yankee Stadium, you hear the roar of the crowd. So kudos to Derek Jeter, a wonderful career.
As for the pitching matchup tonight, it's the AARP edition. Bartolo Colon, the former Yankee, goes for the Mets.
Both pitchers had their meal at 4:30 this afternoon, Gary. When you look at these pitchers, Colon, of course, 5 of his 7 starts have been unbelievable. His ERA is in the mid-2s. The other 2 starts, it's almost 15. So it'll be interesting to see which Colon we get tonight.
On the other side, against the 40-year-old Colon, it's the 39-year-old Hiroki Kuroda.
You know, Hiroki Kuroda had one of the best 2/3 of a year last year, struggled down the stretch and struggled out of the gate, but his last start was his best.
And he's had brilliant starts against the Mets each of the last 2 seasons. So the Mets and Yankees are going to get it started. The neighborhood around Yankee Stadium buzzing, ready to go. River Avenue and 161st Street. Mets and Yankees coming up on Pix. last year's Subway Series. Not incidentally, a series that might have turned Dylan G's career around. Who's going to get the bounce out of this one as the Mets and Yankees meet for the first time this year? New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. Hurry into your local Tri-Honda dealer for great deals on the 2014 models. By Boar's Head Premium Deli Meats and Cheeses. By Acela, take off, book now at Amtrak.com. By Tri-State Ford. To see why the competition just can't compete, visit TriStateFord.com. By the New York Lottery, hey, you never know. And by the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Follow every Mets game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replays, scores, stats, audio, free MLB.tv game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Mets.com today. Upcoming schedule brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. 3 more with the Yankees, 1 here and then 2 at Citi Field. Then the Mets go on a brief road trip to Washington before coming home for a long homestand against the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Pirates. Keys to the game brought to you by your Tri-State Kia retailers. I sense a Subway theme.
Well, I think what's happened there, you can say that for the Mets, too. They've both been struggling here. The Mets are coming off a win, a very good come-from-behind win, where the Yankees are coming off a tough loss. Granderson, of course, third most career home runs at this new stadium here, Yankee Stadium. And, well, you got to have the big guy in that, not the big guy, the little guy with the speed at the top of the order. 15 and 11 when he starts.
Here's the Mets starting lineup brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Eric Young does indeed get the start at the top of the lineup for the second straight day after a 3-hit day yesterday. Bobby Abreu will serve as the DH in the American League Park. Conspicuous by his absence tonight is Juan Lagares, who's been playing every day in center field. Chris Young, who had hits in his last 2 at-bats, will play center field and bat 7th as the Mets go up against 39-year-old Hiroki Kuroda.
But it's almost hard to believe that he's 3 games under 500 for his career, 70 and 73. But he's 20 and 11 here at the new Yankee Stadium.
Lifetime 2-5 with a 4.14 ERA against the Mets. But the last 2 years, he's thrown 14 innings against the Mets, given up no runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. Mets have had no clue against Kuroda. They'll try and find one tonight. Eric Young leads off. And the first pitch of the night is on the inside corner, and we're underway. Eric 3 for 6 yesterday after not getting a start for nearly a week. He has certainly proved to be a catalyst at the top of the Mets order. You know, when you look at the batting average, the on-base percentage, it may not quite compute as Daniel Murphy waits on deck. But when you factor in the base running, the pressure he puts on the other team, he has certainly been a huge factor.
And he's like the Energizer Bunny. He energizes this team and just gets some spirit into them.
And he cracks one into right field, and he's got himself a leadoff hit. And that's the other thing. Young has been particularly effective in the first inning. And it's one of the reasons the Mets are up among the major league leaders in first inning runs.
Fastball, too much plate, nice and level, very upright in his stance. Always maybe made a slight adjustment, Eric, here. Always remember him hitting a little more crouched.
So the Mets have a leadoff base runner, and their hottest hitter, Daniel Murphy, will step in. Gonzalez Herman was under the weather yesterday, hoping to be able to be of use today after sitting out with the flu. He and Wilmer Flores were both unavailable yesterday. Young runs first pitch, and no throw by McCann, and Young steals the base. 15th of the year for Aaron Young, and he wasted no time.
Well, don't think the players don't get up for this series here. And there you go in the exchange. McCann, a good jump. Doesn't have the long strides, Eric Young, but he's quick.
So the Mets immediately with a runner in scoring position for Murphy, who's hitting .385 with runners in scoring position this year. Jeter keeping an eye on Young at second. And Daniel grounds one down to first. Kelly Johnson makes the play. Productive out. Moves Young over to third.
And we'll take a look at the Yankee defense, brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. Alfonso Soriano in right field. That's a switch. Kelly Johnson, of course, playing first base with Mark Teixeira not feeling well, and a little bit of aches and pains from Teixeira. McCann, the new Yankee catcher. There's Joe.
Joe Girardi's had a lot to contend with early in the season. 60% of his starting rotation on the disabled list. So an early RBI opportunity for David Wright. David's hit in 9 straight games, hitting .390 over those 9 games. And he lays off the first pitch from Corona, ball 1.
I found it interesting. Joe Girardi was asked before the game, how do you deal with it, Joe, losing all that pitching? Keep going. It's very simple.
So that's what my parents always told me, just keep going. Infield back for the Yankees. They'll concede the run on a ground ball. David's driven in 22 runs.
Well, I can see the same old McCann. Watch him put a sign down and set up outside corner. He very seldom calls inside. Over the years, we've seen him with the Braves. Countless times, he predominantly calls outside corner.
Curtis Granderson, the former Yankee, waiting on deck. Be interesting to hear the reaction to his appearance. Corona with a couple of sliders behind on right, 2-0. And he throws the fastball for a strike. David's done well against Corona, who began his career with the Dodgers. 4 years in LA, now 3 years in New York.
Unlike his teammate Tanaka, did most of his great pitching in Japan, did not come over when he was 25 years old.
He's 32 by the time he made it to the big leagues. There's Tanaka, who will pitch at Citi Field Wednesday night. 2-1 to right, and he hits a ground ball to short. That'll get the first run in. Eric Young fashions a run with his speed. Single, stolen base, and 2 groundouts, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead.
What did you say, Keith? They've lost 7 of their last 11. They're in no mood.
It's like, thanks for the wonderful years, but what have you done for me lately?
I'm not in the mood today.
Granderson had a couple of huge seasons as a Yankee, and they put on an interesting shift against Curtis. 3 infielders on the right side, and Curtis promptly smacks one into center for a hit. I was going to say 3 infielders on the right side, and they had Jeter playing a straight up third base. I don't think I've ever seen this one before.
Well, we have talked that you're right there. You see on the left Jeter at third base. Yankees lead the league in excessive shifts.
I don't think he would have been there long. I think just one pitch, take away the bunt, and then move back to his position.
So Granderson prolongs the inning with a 2-out single, and now Bobby Abreu, who's also played for the Yankees. Mets have 4 players who played for the Yankees, including tonight's starting pitcher Colon. Kyle Farnsworth as well. Only 1 Yankee has played for the Mets, and that, of course, is Carlos Beltran, who will be the DH for the Yankees tonight. Abreu takes a curveball low. Abreu 4 for 19. This is now his 4th start. He was right in the middle of the Mets tying rally in the 9th inning against the Phillies yesterday with a line drive single off Chase Utley's glove. The stolen base for Eric Young was the first against Corona this year. Generally very good at holding runners. Had 11 straight starts without a steal against him until Young. And a fastball strike to Abreu.
Kuroda was a Gold Glove winner in Japan when he was a pitcher there. Also their equivalent of the Cy Young. Did it all.
Pitched for the Hiroshima Tayo Carp for 11 years. One and one to Abreu. He goes after the splitter, 1-2. That is a big pitch for Corona.
It's almost uncanny. The split finger here. The way that's more of a change up there. I mean, it didn't come out of his hand like that good split finger usually has that drops.
Well, you certainly would know about that, Ronnie. Yeah. You had an excellent splitter. The difficulty, and you saw, folks, was the tumbling of the ball. And you see the sign here, is that as a hitter, you cannot pick up the splitter. It has no signature to it.
There goes Granderson. Abreu takes strike 3 called, and the inning is over. But the Mets fashion a run on the speed of Eric Young. He steals a base, he scores a run, and the Mets take the early lead as Colon goes to the mound. The view from outside the Colossus known as the new Yankee Stadium, opened the same year as Citi Field in 2009. Lineup brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Mark Teixeira out of the lineup with general soreness, little groin problem. He's expecting to play tomorrow. Yangervis Solarte has been the big surprise for the Yankee. The rookie switch hitter has had a terrific start to his season. Carlos Beltran DHing tonight. He has cooled off after a hot start.
I was talking about in the opening that Bartolo Colon, you know really right away if he's going to have one of those good games. 5 of his 7 have been outstanding. 2 walks and 28 punch-outs in those 5 starts.
Last start was against Henderson Alvarez and the Marlins and gave up 2 runs in the first. And the way Alvarez pitched, that was enough to beat him. Brett Gardner leads off for the Yankees. Colon pitched in 2011 with the Yankees. That was the year that really resurrected his career. He had won the Cy Young for the Angels 5 years earlier and had really struggled. Gardner yanks one foul.
Oh, nice play.
Very nice.
We have seen some spectacular work by the ball boys in many different parks over the last couple of weeks. Derek Jeter waits on deck. Colon, having worked a year for the Yankees, certainly knows this ballpark. In 78 innings in this ballpark, he's given up 13 home runs.
So that would 39 and 240 innings. That's a little too many. Yeah, absolutely. But
that's how this ballpark plays.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to give up more here.
1-2 to Gardner, who's hitting at 281. Gardner's had a very steady career. He's 30 years old. It's his 7th year. Lifetime on base percentage of .351. That's what you want either in the 1 spot or the 9 spot in American League order.
You know what's interesting? They went out and signed all these outfielders and they rewarded him with a contract. That usually doesn't happen. Usually you get pushed out.
Well, here's another guy that energizes your lineup. He can run like a deer, steal a base.
1-2, slap foul.
He's a cut and slasher, not a power guy. Leadoff hitter. Top of the order guy. He really had to work to get into the lineup, become an everyday player here. When he first came up, they kind of platooned him for a bit, but he's made himself into a better hitter against left-handers.
Colon working hard on the leadoff hitter, and Gardner takes on the inside corner, strike 3 call. Well, Mike Estabrook gave that pitch to Kuroda, and he gives it to Colon as well.
Just the same pitch, you're right, Gary. That fastball starts at the hip, comes back over. I think he caught the inside corner.
Number 2, Derek Jeter.
The sound of the late Bob Shepard, whose production they use in perpetuity for Derek Jeter. Jeter will turn 40 next month in his 20th big league season.
So the late Mr. Shepard will be retired also with Derek.
Well, Jeter has been a great Yankee. He's had a great career, but he has also been a spectacular Met killer. Lifetime .368 average against the Mets. Even better during the World Series in 2000.
You got that big leadoff home run that kind of set the tone.
That was the big moment in Game 4. First pitch of the game off Bobby Jones. Scooting to his left, Tejada, spinning stop, but no way to get Jeter, who has himself an infield hit.
Well, Jeter doesn't run like he used to, but no shot. Tejada wisely just puts this one in his back pocket.
So 1 out and 1 on. Those are the numbers for Jeter. Only Rico Carty ever had a higher batting average against the Mets. Rico hit .380 against the Mets. Great Atlanta player.
In Atlanta, yeah.
Rico Carty was a pretty good hitter.
Here's Jacoby Ellsbury, who signed a 7-year, $153 million contract. He's hitting well, but not hitting for any power. 1 home run in his first 134 at-bats. 3-time American League stolen base champ, including last year when he stole 52 with the Red Sox. Gets it out to left. Eric Young drifting back. And that's the second out. Back to first goes Jeter. So Ellsbury retired, and now Carlos Beltran. Carlos got off to a terrific start with the Yankees this year. But about 3 weeks ago, the Yankees were playing at Tampa Bay, and he flipped over a sidewall trying to chase a ball and banged up his shoulder, banged up his elbow, and he's hitting about $180 since then. Carlos may be the best all-around outfielder the Mets ever had, and never was appreciated the way he should have been in his 7 years as a Met.
Well, the best year he had when he hit the 40-plus home runs.
41, right?
Gosh, that was a heck of a year.
Won 3 Gold Gloves as a Met. That swing does not look good.
And we'll take a look at the Metropolitan defense, also brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. And due to it first, it's the same infield here. This is pretty much Tejada getting rewarded for his game-winning RBI. Had a couple hits yesterday.
0-2, and Colon just missed. Ball and 2 strikes. Jeter at first with 2 down. 1-2 to Beltran, and he misses outside.
That's just a show pitch. He keeps trying to get you to lean over that plate, and then he throws that ball inside again, the one he struck out Gardner with.
Well, he has to, like anything else, Ronnie. You have Colon doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he still has to establish inside, particularly on the left-handers.
In the air to center field. Young broke back, now coming on. Plenty of time to get there. Chris makes the catch, and Colon is through the first inning with the lead. An infield hit and 1 left. 1-0 Mets after 1. BMW centers. We go to the second inning at Yankee Stadium. The Mets with a 1-0 lead. Lucas Duda will lead off against Hiroki Kuroda. And again, the Yankees are going to put on a full shift and again leave Jeter alone on the left side of the infield. And again, Jeter is going to play a third base position, very much the way he did against Granderson.
A little more in the hole this side than on with Granderson. Less of a chance for Lucas to be a threat to bunt.
And Duda takes a knee-high strike from Kuroda.
What I find interesting in all these shifts, Gary, is the infield is the extreme shift, but the outfield's a lot more than normal are shifted a slightly the opposite field. Big gaps for Lucas.
What I find interesting about the tendency toward shifting in the major leagues this year is that the team that was the progenitor of it all, the Tampa Bay Rays, I mean, they and Oakland would always be 1-2 in the majors in most shifts. Houston now shifts more than anybody, and Tampa Bay has gone backwards.
Yeah.
They don't shift nearly as much as they used to. And I wonder whether, whether Joe Madden, who, was so much in favor of that with his cohort in the front office with the Rays, has figured something out about the shift and is a step ahead of everybody else.
Joe Madden told me, and I think he's so right. He said, listen, it's not about the numbers. Everyone gets the same numbers. It's how you crackle those numbers, right? How you figure it out.
Duda hits it right into the shift, so it works perfectly, and Brian Roberts throws him out, one away. By the way, if you notice, the Yankees are wearing a non-traditional cap tonight, and the Yankees, of course, have the most traditional uniform of any team. But these hats with the off-white brim, they wore them last year a couple of times. This is the first time they've worn them this year.
Can't say that I care for them.
I mean, the Mets have so many different uniform combinations, but the Yankees generally stay with one home and one road. Another big shift, this one against Chris Young.
And we've seen it before with Chris Young. A shift on the infield.
Well, let's not forget, the reason the Yankees shift about as much as anyone in baseball is because of their infield team speed. That's why they have to shift.
Which you're saying they don't have a whole lot of.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to try to hedge your bet. That's what you're trying to do.
Well, you've got Jeter, who's 40 years old, and really, when Derek was in his prime, Derek didn't have a tremendous range, but now in 40, he's really lost his range.
Young hits it down the left field line over toward the corner, and it bounces over the wall for a ground rule double. So Chris Young, who had hits in his last 2 at bats last night to help the Mets victory, gets a double his first time up tonight.
Wants to come inside, too much plate, and that's all it takes. Now he got a little bit in on him, but not in enough.
Well, Gary made an interesting point. He said Juan Lagares not in the lineup, Chris Young playing center. Terry Collins' reasoning is that he had the most at bats against Kuroda. Arizona, where Chris Young was, against Kuroda when he was in a Dodger uniform.
He was hitting only .214 against him, but it paid off. There you go.
How you crack the numbers.
Here's Travis d'Arnaud, and he takes one below the knees. d'Arnaud hitless in his last 7 at bats at .202 for the year. Had a rough at bat yesterday as a pinch hitter, went down looking in a big spot in the 8th inning.
I've just seen Travis taking too many fastballs, Gary.
Well, I wonder, Keith, that that's a reaction to the fact that early in the year Travis was swinging at a lot of first pitches, and I wonder whether he's been encouraged to take more pitches.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but I just so many pitches you get per at bat. And all major league hitters get here because they can hit the fastball. You can't hit the fastball, you're down in the salt mines.
Well, that's all the way down there?
Yes.
You can't even stop at accountants?
You don't want to go there.
It's awfully briny. d'Arnaud trying to take one to right and fouls him back, 1-2.
So I'd like to make a point here about taking fastballs, and it is, if I was a veteran, I know there's more teams now, there's 30 teams, and you don't have the scheduling that you can get. Maybe there's some pitchers that come up in the bullpen in particular that you don't know what they got. For instance, yes, the Phillies series, they had so many new guys, but you know what, when I faced someone I didn't know about, I just went to hitting. I didn't have a feel for him, so I didn't look for a slider.
Bouncing ball, Jeter charges. And makes the play on d'Arnaud for the second out as Chris Young goes over to third.
When you start looking for area, or whether you're looking for pitches, it's because you have a familiarity with the pitcher. You faced him enough, and you get a feel not only for the pitcher, but the catcher, what the catcher likes to call. And when you face someone new coming up, you got to just get a feel for that pitcher, and you got to look fastball and go to hitting. And that's a veteran has to do that. So I just don't understand
Well, it's a matter of guys have more information than they've ever had before, but the question is whether that information is useful and whether there's a case of overthink at times. Here's Ruben Tejada, who had a big day yesterday, on base 4 times, at the game-winning hit, and he takes a strike.
Ronnie, you made a good point about the article you read about Trout.
Yeah, Tom Verducci wrote an article on like Trout in the Sports Illustrated, and it was really interesting. He said what he tries to do is look at a little bit of videotape of some past at bats, because he said, I'm a young guy. Most of the people I face, I'm facing for the first time.
Tejada rifles one to left, but in comes Gardner, and that retires the side. So another hard hit ball for Tejada.
But in the end, what I'm trying to do is just let the talent flow, because I don't want to look at too many tendencies.
Agreed.
Game brought to you in high definition by your Tri-State BMW centers. Brian McCann leads off in the home second for the Yankees. The former Brave takes Sloan away. McCann, one of the many players that the Yankees spilled many dollars on in the offseason after an 85-win year last year. McCann got 5 years, $85 million. For the 7-time All-Star.
Big shift on him also by the Mets. Daniel Murphy in the outfield. They say he's been hitting the ball hard, but he's become a dead pull hitter, and that makes you predictable. And if you hit the ball the right side of the infield on the ground, you got 3 fielders over there. It makes it a little tough.
I mean, you remember when McCann first came up, what a great left center hitter.
Yes, he was.
Lined over the shift, and McCann has a base hit. Second hit off Cologne. Brian McCann with more home runs than any catcher in the major leagues by far since he began his career.
And you know what? That's old Turner Field, and Turner Field is a big, I think it's a big ballpark, one of the bigger parks in baseball.
It's only bigger than this one for a left-hand hitter.
John Buck hit all of those in last April.
Doesn't seem that way. Here's Alfonso Soriano playing right field tonight. 38 years old, 411 career home runs. Came back for a second stint with the Yankees last year. Played for them early in his career.
Stands real close to the plate. Very peculiar hitter. Funny swing. It's worked for him. Big home run hitter. I think the Cubs were happy to unload him.
Well, the Cubs gave him an 8-year deal after he had that 40-40 season for the Nationals, and soon came to regret it. But give Soriano credit. He was able to resurrect himself last year.
He was one of their best hitters down the stretch. You can get him here all day.
Yep, up and in.
Cannot hit the ball there. Down hitter.
McCann, a very slow runner at first. And Darno goes down to block at 1-2.
Now, when I say all day, you could throw that pitch to Soriano 25 times today, and he wouldn't hit one of them. He's just has that kind of swing.
And it makes you wonder why you would even, not throw 90% up and in to him. Now, would you want Soriano to correct that? Would he be able to correct that? And maybe, which means you'd have to swing more level in that pitch upstairs. You got old habits. They're hard to break.
Darno moves outside, and Soriano lines it into center for a base hit. So back-to-back hits for McCann and Soriano to start the second inning.
Likes the pitch out over the plate and down.
Oh, the pitch location is not good. Full extension, wants the ball away. That's too much of the middle.
He's almost, his back foot came off the ground.
He's a peculiar hitter. It's something you wouldn't teach.
Look at this, Keith.
The back foot up in the air. Usually you drive off that back foot. Look at him stepping back.
And for Soriano, that's rather an historic hit. It's his 1,000th American League hit. He also had over 1,000 in the National League. He's only the 7th player in Major League history to have 1,000 hits in each league.
Well, congratulations. In order for Alfonso. Clemente did that a lot, Ronnie. When he went the other way, he would have that back foot. It would lift up and do drive off it late like that.
So here's Yangervis Solarte, the rookie third baseman, who's been an enormous surprise, and he lines one past Tejada's glove. 3 straight hits for the Yankees. McCann had to hold up. He'll go to third and stop there. So Solarte wasting no time. First pitch he sees from Colon.
Ripped. Fastball away. Belt high. Mid thigh. Look at that level swing. Very nice.
He's been their best hitter.
And McCann does the proper thing. You can't get the balls over your head there to your left. You got to make sure you're not doubled up.
He almost broke his ankle.
Yeah. It didn't look pretty, but it was the right thing to do. Nobody out. The Sox are intoxicated.
So now the 8 and 9 hitters, Kelly Johnson and Brian Roberts, will try and get the Yankees even or better. Johnson getting the start at first base tonight with Teixeira backed up, and Colon finds the inside corner. Johnson played in Tampa Bay last year, hit 16 home runs for the Rays. Now 32 years old, started his career with the Braves.
He's bounced around. Arizona. They thought he was going to be something. He broke in with a splash with Atlanta, and he just had a couple good years, and that was it.
There's Teixeira, who should be in the lineup tomorrow.
He said his legs were sore and tired in the paper today. Okay.
Colon ahead 0-2. Just missed outside.
Apparently he had a left groin problem and then irritated the right groin, so
should provide balance. Not comfortable balance. Colon finding himself in a mess in the home second. 1-2 to Johnson. Struck him out. Second strikeout for Colon, the first out of the inning.
What's interesting is that he'll cruise around 88, 89, and then he'll get in trouble, and all of a sudden it's 91 and 92. Always has great run and throws us by Johnson.
Just a big swing with 2 strikes, Ronnie. With the bases loaded, nobody out.
So he's a third of the way out of a big jam. Now he's got Brian Roberts, the switch hitting second baseman, in his first year with the Yankees after 13 years in Baltimore.
And they said that he's done a heck of a job. He's been very underrated here.
Roberts had some great years in Baltimore before he started suffering all manner of injuries, including several concussions.
He was like a 50 double guy every year. Automatic.
He's had plenty of at-bats against Colon, 6 for 24 against him. That's looking for a ground ball to work with. Get Colon through this inning. And Roberts takes one just off the plate. 1-1.
So you got to know Colon's game. He likes to. He's doing that on purpose, folks. He wants you to swing at that pitch that starts on the outside corner and then runs away from the plate. He wants to expand the strike zone. This is a purpose pitch. Just every pitch that Colon makes when he's on has a purpose, right?
Yep. Line caught by Duda, and safe getting back to second is Soriano. Duda caught it, knew he didn't have a play at first, and took a shot at second and almost doubled off Soriano.
Colon will tell you that he doesn't know. You see Guerin going to the box to see should they challenge that play.
This is just silly. I'm sorry. I've already had enough of it.
Here's the play at second.
He's in.
Yes, he is. So Colon, after facing a bases loaded nobody out situation, now has a couple of outs on a strikeout and a line drive, and he'll face Brett Gardner with the bases loaded and 2 out. Gardner took a call third strike his first time, and he hits the first pitch deep to right. Back goes Granderson looking up, and it's way out of here. A grand slam for Brett Gardner, his second home run of the year, and the Yankees go in front 4-1.
You made a great point before. He's a cut and slash hitter, but in this ballpark, everyone has a chance.
And first ball fastball hitting. Second time through the order when you face a hitter. Second time through. You've seen all of his pitches. If you get a fat fastball, jump on it. And it certainly Gardner did.
Second career grand slam for Gardner. Jeter finds the hole, and he's got himself a base hit, the 5th hit of the inning against Bartolo Colon. Well, Jeter's second hit of the night.
Here's the pitch. First pitch, wants it away. Look at this, right down Broadway.
You know, Keith, I think he took a little off that pitch. Colon will tell you that he does not throw a changeup, but he does change speeds on his fastball, and I thought he took a little off that, and it was up.
Just didn't get it out enough, and there's enough barrel of the bat. And look, let go with one hand, too, because he had to reach for it.
Now Ellsbury, the 8th man up in the inning. Yankees being very aggressive against Colon early in the count. And Ellsbury takes outside. For Bartolo Colon, by the way, that's the 316th home run he's allowed in his career. Only the 3rd grand slam. Carlos Lee, Alex Rodriguez, and now Brett Gardner. Second grand slam of Gardner's career. Ellsbury fouls it back. 1-1.
That's another good cut there, too. You know, if you're a veteran like Colon and you're seeing these hitters starting to locate that outside fastball and are on the speed, you got to pop them inside. Got to get them off the outside corner. Got to throw one here. 1-1 off the plate, not off the plate, but inside at least.
Now Colon's given up 5 hits in the inning. They've all been hit hard. He also gave up a hard hit out to Brian Roberts. So he's getting very little traction. 2-1 to Ellsbury. Ellsbury had his big year in 2011 when he finished second in the MVP balloting in the American League. He's had injury problems to counteract. Healthy this year. Off the end of the bat, 2-2.
Let me ask you a question, Ron. When you pitched here with Oakland, did you? Obviously, you were cognizant of the short porch in right field. Did that make you pitch more inside, or were you kind of just want to throw that sinker away and have them try to pull it?
Well, I pitched here in the Bronx at the other stadium, but same kind of dimensions. Mel Stottlemyre always said the shorter the park, the more you have to pitch inside. You have to get them conscious of getting jammed so it opens up that outside part.
Full count to Ellsbury. That having been said, It may be the same dimensions. This park is way smaller.
Yes,
than
yeah, it is. You're right. You're right. The other one used to jut out in right center.
Right.
And this one doesn't. It goes mostly straight across.
It used to jet out real quick.
Yeah.
But Gardner's ball, that would have been out of the old one too.
Yes.
Jeter set to run. 3-2 to Ellsbury. Is on the inside corner. Colon has his third strikeout, but the Yankees strike big in the second. 3 hits to start the inning. Colon gets a couple of outs, but Gardner would not let him get through it. Jumps on the first pitch. It's his second career grand slam. And the Yankees take a 4-1 lead after 2. W for the season finale of Arrow. That's Wednesday at 8 right here on the CW. Mets in a 3-run hole as they come to bat in the third. Top of the batting order, Eric Young, who singled to right, stole a base, and scored after a couple of groundouts in the first inning. More than negated by Brett Gardner's grand slam in the second. Corners in for the Yankees. And Young takes a knee-high fastball for a strike. It'll be Young, Murphy, and right for the Mets as they bat against Kuroda in the third. Mets are already ahead of the game against Kuroda compared to the last 2 years when he shut him out for 7 innings each time. And the curveball fouled off. 0-2. One thing about this Yankee pitching staff, they may be banged up with 3 starters on the DL, Nova, Pineda, Sabathia, but they don't walk people. 36 starts this year. Yankees starting pitchers have walked 45 batters.
Can't walk anyone here. That's why you learn that you get in trouble if you walk anyone here.
Little chopper, and McCann will watch it stay foul. But that's extraordinary, right? 36 starts, 45 walks.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. You think you'd have at least in the 70 range, right? At least 2 a game. You know, Keith, you made a point earlier. I don't know if it's in between innings, but Eric Young Jr. is more upright at the plate. So different than he has been all season long.
And this is his natural size. A better left-hand hitter. You think the adjustments would be made to the right side. He hits right-handers much better than lefties. The switch hitter. Much more upright. Standing straight up.
Sometimes when your name's not in the lineup, it gives you some time to work on things.
I don't want anybody tinkering with my stance and my swing.
You're so territorial.
Maybe he did some self-tinkering.
Nice crowd tonight. Beautiful night for baseball.
Perfect.
It's going to be February again tomorrow.
Is it cold again?
Yep.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
You're in charge of that stuff. What's going on this year?
Polar vortex. 1-2 to EY. And he lays off the breaking ball. 2-2.
Like, have a jacket cold, or we'll be fine with our sport coat?
I would take precautions.
Really? Keith? Vest?
Well, I'm going to take my chances tomorrow. Gary's very sensitive to cold. He's always exaggerating the cold.
You've been warned. Young fouls it off the left side.
Yankee Stadium here, much like Citi Field, not a lot of foul territory.
2-2 from Kuroda. Young hanging in there. I mentioned the injuries to the Yankees starting staff, and you don't know how long Sabathia's going to be out. He's got a little knee problem.
Yeah.
Nova's out for the year. Pineda, they're saying, is going to miss at least another month.
It's got like a back strain.
It makes Kuroda so much more important in terms of him recovering from what's been a pretty bad stretch late last year and early this year. And he was so consistent for so long, both with the Dodgers and the Yankees, before this latest hiccup.
Pretty good at bat for Eric Young here.
I mean, they're filling in with the likes of Vidal Nuno, who's come out of the bullpen. They don't even know who's going to start Thursday night.
Kuroda at this point in his career, though, should be a guy who is in there maybe 6 innings and out. But last year, Sabathia was down. He had to go more innings, especially early in the year, and I think that cost him at the end.
Young rips one foul. I mean, once you get past Tanaka right now in the Yankee rotation, it's not a whole lot to hang your hat on. You see what Kuroda's done lately over the last 15 starts. That's 7 this year and the last 8 of last year. 2 and 9, 5.54.
I'll take Kuroda on my team, though. He is a battler and a gamer. Just his age is the problem, right?
11th pitch of the at bat coming up to Eric Young, and he lines one right at Jeter. And that's a terrific time at bat for Young, but it results in the first out.
And it results in a big hang with him. Ah, well, looks like the big Baber.
Babe Ruth right in the middle of that picture.
John McGraw in this long coat on the right, I believe. Who's the manager there, Ron?
Miller Huggins, right?
Yes, I believe so. I have no clue who the other guy is between the Baber and John McGraw and the tall gentleman with the bow tie.
Murphy skims one just foul.
And that's a Yankee road uniform. That was taken on the road.
Wasn't Jim Thorpe, was it? Between those guys? Can we see that picture again? There we go.
Monument Park out beyond the center field fence. Murphy grounded out his first time and leans back.
Was Jim Thorpe that tall? You might be right. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't say one way or the other. The guy on the left's a giant.
In those days, right? I mean, the Babe was 6'2", 6'3".
He was an outsized hero for his time. Who's Hot brought to you by JetBlue. You above all. Daniel Murphy, 10 extra base hits in the last 8 games. Most in an 8-game span for the Mets in 6 years. His second home run of the year yesterday in the 9th inning to help the Mets come back.
There was a no-doubter too. There was nothing Bastardo can throw to him. He was taking some very confident strokes. Boy, Bastardo really has taken a step backwards.
Well, it was a very difficult game to manage for Ryan Sandberg with his bullpen, as it turned out. One of the reasons he let Hamels throw 133 pitches. He didn't have any of his better relievers available.
Well, I'm not going to let him completely off the hook, though. If you've got guys down there, you got to use them.
Yep, I agree.
You know, I mean, even if they're not your frontline guys, okay, you've run out of guys. Garcia didn't pitch that whole series, and Manship didn't until that last couple of innings.
Jeter plays the bouncer. Stretched by Johnson. 2 out. By the way, Kelly Johnson before this year had started only 2 games in his career at first base.
And it looks like it from his footwork at first base so far.
Well, he came up as an outfielder. No, came up as a shortstop. Then they thought they would move him to the outfield. Then they moved him to second base. And now he's been playing everywhere.
He's played third base and had 2 starts at first base last year. But the Yankees basically didn't have a backup for Teixeira coming into the year, so they've had to use a variety of different people over there, including Carlos Beltran, who had never played there before. Here's Wright with 2 out and nobody on. David drove in the Mets run with a ground out in the first. And pulls off that slider, 0-1.
That was the first real good slider from Kuroda.
Quickly ahead on right, 0-2. Curtis Granderson would be next. Kuroda pops one inside, 1-2. Everybody's got the same game plan against David, don't they?
It's pitching 101 to David. It's slider away because he's sitting on fastball. Fastball away, paint. Got it there. Fastball in to stand him up. Little slider away with a split finger.
Two and two to right with 2 out and nobody on. And David reaches for the slider, hits it well out to right center. But back in the gap goes Ellsbury, and on the warning track, he's got it. And Kuroda has his first 1-2-3 inning. Gorgeous sunset in the Bronx. That doesn't sound quite as poetic as some others. Looking incredibly youthful on his 89th birthday, the legendary Yogi Berra is here tonight. Happy birthday, Yogi. There are only 2 players in the Baseball Hall of Fame who played for both the Mets and the Yankees. And Yogi is one of the 2. The other, Ricky Henderson. Beltran lifts one out to shallow right center. And Granderson calls and catches. One out.
Yogi, 10 World Series rings, 3 times American League MVP, 13 times. That includes as a manager and a coach. 18-time All-Star.
3-time MVP. Thank you.
Of course, he managed the Mets to the 7th game of the World Series in 1973 against all odds. Brian McCann tries to bunt against the shift, but Colon smartly off the mound. Makes sure that doesn't work.
And what's great about Yogi is that he has those ties to the Mets. Strong ties. He's been around. It was quite a few years with the Mets.
Of course, his beloved wife Carmen passed away not long ago. They were a fixture, the two of them, out in Montclair, New Jersey.
One thing I'll never forget as long as I live, I went to play in Yogi's golf tournament and was with my son Jordan. We sat at his table for lunch and he just regaled us with story after story. My son Jordan left there wide-eyed, to say the least.
Here's Alfonso Soriano. Soriano cracked the single to center his first time up. We mentioned that Soriano became the 7th player to hit 1,000 hits in each league with his base hit his first time up. The other 6, Frank Robinson, Dave Winfield, Vladimir Guerrero, Fred McGriff, Carlos Lee, and the surprising one on the list, Orlando Cabrera.
Oh, wow.
The Expos, and then had enough of a career in the American League to reach 1,000 in each league.
I wouldn't have guessed that he had over 2,000 hits, would you?
No. 2,055 total. He just got over 1,000 in each league.
He was a winning player, wasn't he, Cabrera?
Pulled toward the hole. Diving stop by Tejada. And he throws him out. Beautiful play for Ruben Tejada to get Colon through the bottom of the 3rd. Tejada rejuvenated these last couple of days. Spectacular play to get Soriano.
Well, nice stretch by Lucas.
Now here's a sneak peek at the season finale of Arrow. We go to the 4th inning. The Yankees with a 4-1 lead. The Mets made some big news today, announcing that Henry Mejia will be headed for the bullpen effective tonight and that his place in the rotation will be taken by 23-year-old Rafael Montero. For more, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, Gary, we've obviously seen Montero the last couple of spring trainings, and Met fans have gotten a taste of him too. But I talked to a scout earlier today that's seen him a lot and has seen him recently in the last week and a half, and he said, you know, he looked great. I love his composure on the mound. He said the one thing I had never seen before is failure from him, and I finally got a chance to see. He had one inning where he got knocked around a little bit. He let up a home run, and you know what? He regrouped. He got the next 2 outs, and he cruised on after that. He said that was impressive to me, and that's what I was waiting to see. He said sometimes he can get in a little trouble. His slider can get a little loose, but I'll tell you what, I love his composure. He's wiry strong because he doesn't look it, but he is. And the other thing is he's got a consistent arm angle. You can never tell whether he's throwing fastball or changeup. Nice play there. Granderson out. He said, I think he's ready. We'll find out on Wednesday. Gary?
Solarte making that play on the right side of the infield. The one thing that stands out negatively about Montero when you look at his numbers this year is his walk ratio is about twice as high as it's been in past years. And I don't know if that's just a Las Vegas thing or if it's something to be wary of.
It could be a couple things. It could be a Las Vegas thing. It could be a stale thing. He's been in Las Vegas for a while. Sandy Alderson was mentioning today, you know, Zach Wheeler came up after he'd been in AAA for a while. Harvey had come up after he'd been in AAA for a while. But Montero has almost a full season in AAA if you count last year and this year. So it's his time to come if he's pitching the best. And like we said before, 5 2/3 of no-hit innings his last start.
And Sandy made the point, you know, this isn't exactly the way the Mets brought Harvey and Wheeler to the big leagues, and doesn't have to be exactly the same. This is a matter of he's ready and the team had a need.
Yeah.
The bullpen has been struggling big time. Mejia has had trouble getting through the middles of games. It made perfect sense to take a quality arm like Mejia, put it in the bullpen, and give one of the Met young pitchers a chance, and Montero is the most ready for that chance.
I don't think there's anything worse for a fan than when you're not playing your best, the team stays status quo. Try to shake it up a little, and I think having Montero come up is a great idea.
And I like the fact what Terry Collins has done with Familia. He's giving him more responsibility, deeper in games, more critical appearances, and Familia has responded nicely.
And Terry has even said in the last 24 hours that it may not be long before Familia gets a chance to close. Abreu grounds one down to Johnson, and he makes the flip to Kuroda for the second out. It was very interesting listening to Sandy Alderson talk about the team. He'd spoken very honest terms about where the Mets are at right now. He used the words meager offense, poor bullpen. Well, they've done what they've been able to. They don't have top prospects at the upper levels of the farm system for position players, but they've brought up the guys they could, Wilmer Flores and Eric Campbell, and now start to bring up some of this mass of young pitchers that they have bubbling up through the system.
Inconsistent was a word he used, but as far as the starting pitching, he said it's been so strong, the strongest part of the team.
Here's Duda, who grounded out his first time up. Well, DeGrom might be here in the next few days. He's been pulled from his start tonight with an eye toward perhaps bringing him up for bullpen work sometime this week. Syndergaard may be a little further away.
Now Syndergaard is going to be more on the Wheeler-Harvey plan.
Right.
He'll be there for 20+ starts down there in Vegas before they even sniffs the big leagues.
Now, I don't think they're going to entertain any idea of Syndergaard in the bullpen. Now, he's a starter, a big, strong kid. But in spring training, it was Montero that caught my eye more than the other three. The other two, excuse me.
Duda hits it out to left center. Long run back for Ellsbury in the gap, and he makes a terrific catch. Ellsbury had to run a country mile for that one. Sliding right at the edge of the warning track. Beautifully done by Jacoby Ellsbury to take an extra base hit away from Duda. That helps out Kuroda, who's now retired 8 straight. Ellsbury with that big glove, reeling one in. 4-1 Yankees in the 4th.
Good.
Baseball is brought to you by Toyota's #1 for everyone sales event going on now. Toyota, let's go places. Jan Hervis Solarte leads off in the home 4th inning. Solarte swung at the first pitch he saw and laced a base hit, scored a run in the second. Solarte was in the Twins organization for half a dozen years, a non-prospect. Was with Texas last year. Didn't have any room for him. The Yankees picked him up as a free agent, and he had a great spring training, made the ball club, and has done nothing but hit since the year began. And they can play him just about anywhere.
Twins don't make many mistakes with players, so interesting. But you never know. They had a lot of players like Solarte.
No matter how good you are at evaluating talent, there's always those that slip through the cracks, you know?
Or it's not their time when they're with you.
And it still remains to be seen whether Solarte can keep up this kind of pace once he goes around the league a couple of times.
Absolutely.
But he's got a good swing from both sides of the plate. He draws his share of walks. He's 5th in the American League in on-base percentage. So he's done nothing to disappoint so far.
A big swing, I'll tell you that.
His front foot too. He takes his stride. Watch his front foot. He's on his heels when he swings. Lifts that front foot up. It's a big overswing.
And he's got a big mound of something in his cheek.
Well, yeah. It's not healthy.
It's old school. 2-2 from Cologne. And a high fly ball. And Granderson settles under it. 1 out.
Two strikes. Wants to come inside. Didn't get it in enough. He just got under it. Big swing.
To me, those players, and I hope I'm wrong for Solarte's sake, when you have a big swing like that, there's going to be some holes exposed at some point. And his swing, the first at bat, was beautiful. The base hit.
There's Kelly Johnson. Johnson batted with the bases loaded and nobody out of the second, and Cologne struck him out. He then got Brian Roberts on a line drive, but that got ambushed by Brett Gardner, a first pitch grand slam, and that's why the Yankees have a 4-1 lead.
Kelly Johnson is an unusual hitter. His splits from last year, he was better against left-handed pitching.
I remember from his Braves days, he hit a home run against Tom Glavine at Shea Stadium.
Reminds me a little of, and he's not as good a player, of Mitch Webster from the left side.
Oh, wow.
A little bit like Mitch Webster.
Mitch was a switch hitter, right?
Yes, he was. And he wasn't let me tell you, he was a pretty good player. He could run. You couldn't get 2 words out of him at first base. You know me, I'd be chirping.
I didn't know you were that friendly. Johnson down swinging. Second time he's been struck out. The 4th of the night for Cologne. I mean, were you a Sean Casey?
I was a chirp master over there. Are you kidding? I was just trying to get information. Very covert.
What was some of the covert work you were doing over there?
I wanted to ask the hitter how he felt at the plate. But they were stupid enough to tell me, well, I don't feel, I'm a little bit of a slump. Shoot, pass that along.
It's Brian Roberts in line 1 to do to his first time up. And a rare breaking ball from Cologne for a strike. There's Yogi Berra's retired number at Monument Park. 1-8 for Yogi, 1 for Bill Dickey. They are running out of single digits. They're going to retire Joe Torre's number 6 later this summer, and you know the Jeter's not far behind. I guess they could always give out 0, but that's all that's left. Stroked out to left by Roberts, and Eric Young is there. 7 in a row set down by Cologne on Yogi Berra's 89th birthday. Lawrence Peter Berra, happy birthday. using hashtag #PicksFanPhoto, brought to you by AT&T.
Oh boy.
Maybe it involves a selfie, or maybe it's something a little more artistic.
She's angry. Smile, you're on candid camera.
She's not going to be happy with those 20 seconds, I'll tell you that.
She's trying out a variety of moves.
I tell you what, with that look, I don't want anywhere near her.
Chris Young leads off the 5th inning. Double down the left field line of the 2nd. Here's the last man to reach against Kuroda, who throws one knee high for a strike. Well, this has been a typical Mets game in so many ways, in that they got a run in the 1st inning, and now the offense has been switched off. Mets have scored in the 1st inning in 8 of their last 10 games, but they've won only 2 of those games.
Get it. Well, neither team's won very many games of late.
Mets have lost 8 of 10. Yankees 7 of 11. 2-1 to Young. Travis d'Arnaud on deck. Ruben Tejada behind him. I hear a contingent of Met fans.
They're up there in the left field line. Second tank, right down the left field line. They're all in the orange.
All those orange shirts. Match my tie.
There they are.
Yes, oh, you do.
See, that's what you need to do when you come to the Bronx. If you're a Met fan, you got to come together like a battalion all together, so you got, they can't attack you.
Like the 300 Spartans.
the enclave. And Kuroda with the slider strikes out Chris Young. 1 out. Second strikeout for Kuroda today. He's retired 9 straight. Well, that's the run distribution for the Mets over the first 6 innings of games, and it's fairly stark how well they've done in the first compared to the next 5.
Now, in defense of that 2nd inning, if you're scoring 29 runs in the first, you're getting down to the bottom of the order, which for the bottom of the order for the Mets has not been very productive of late.
So how do you explain the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th?
I have not looked in depth yet, Gary. Give me a little more time.
I'll leave you a moment to research the matter. d'Arnaud grounded out to short his first time up, 0 for his last 8. You know what today is, by the way? Today, and I don't usually say this about DH games, but it's a welcome respite today because we don't have to talk about the Mets pitchers over.
There you go. But you just did.
Oh, I guess I did.
Yeah.
d'Arnaud hits one well out to right field. Back goes Soriano to the track at the wall. It's out of here. Travis d'Arnaud with a Yankee Stadium cheap home run. His 3rd home run of the year, and it cuts the Yankee lead to 4-2. What's the old expression? Play it as it lays.
That's right.
Well, ballpark small. d'Arnaud hits one the other way and dumps one in the first row.
Smart. Both sides have to play here.
Well, the Mets are dead last in the National League in home runs. You can imagine if they played in this ballpark, it might be vastly different. So now it's a 4-2 Yankee lead. Here's Ruben Tejada, who hit a bullet to left that was caught his first time.
Well, pitch away. Slider just stayed flat. d'Arnaud goes right the opposite field with it nicely. No overswing. And you get it in the air here. It's going to get over the Lays sign.
Got to catch that ball.
Brutal.
Hit hard and a short hop pickup by Solarte. Not sure he was even looking in that direction. But another hard hit ball for Tejada results in an out.
Do you think it was a look what I found thing?
No, short hop. Short hop. The in-between hop is the one where you say, look what I found.
This is a look what I found. Look where his head is.
Looks right, reaches left. Perfect.
No, Ronnie, you got me there.
Now, the Mets have had some hard hit balls against Kuroda that have resulted in outs today. Now Eric Young, who singled to right, stole a base, scored a run in the first, then lined out to short in the third. He's 1 for 2. And that's hit hard over the bag and down the line. All the way to the deep corner. Young thinking about 3, but he'll pull into second, taking no chances with 2 out. Third double of the year for Eric Young, his second in 2 days.
Turned on that fastball in. And Eric Young making a statement to stay in the lineup.
Well, he's got 4 hits in his last 5 at bats now. And the only time he was retired was on that line drive to short in the third.
I'm not adverse for Mr. Young being in the lineup, but I'm adverse to Mr. Lagares being on the bench.
Well, tomorrow they can all play because Abreu won't start against the left-hander. Here's Murphy tying run at the plate in a 4-2 game. Daniels grounded out twice.
Do we have a little "Let's Go Murphy" chant working?
Well, since the new Yankee Stadium opened in 2009, there have been more home runs hit here than in any other stadium. Not shockingly. I mean, that's double pronged, of course. It's a great home run hitter's ballpark, and the Yankees have had some terrific home run hitters over the last 6 years.
I will say, though, to you as a former pitcher and a right-hander, it's the right-handed hitters that would give you lots of problems.
Right.
Because the left-handed hitters, if they connect on one, it's going to be out of the ballpark. It's the right-handed hitters like d'Arnaud who can take a slider off the plate and flip it over the wall. That's the one that kills you.
Jeter made a living doing that. He knew how to go the opposite field.
I mean, Jeter's got 257 home runs, and I'm sure a large chunk of them have been to right field. 2-1 now to Murphy. Interestingly, so far this year, the Yankees, while they've hit way more home runs in this ballpark, they've scored fewer runs than they have on the road. Two and 1 to Murphy. And Kuroda keeps it away from him. 3-1. One of the rare times Kuroda's been behind in the count tonight. I mentioned he almost never walks anybody. 7 walks in 47 innings this year. And with Wright on deck, you have to figure Murphy gets a strike to hit here. Three-1 from Kuroda, and it's a letter high strike. Got a generous call there from Mike Estabrook. 3-2.
Generous call and late call.
I think it got the corner. The question is whether it was high or not. And in today's strike zone, maybe not. But to the letter of the law, it was at the letters. Yeah, strike.
By the way, on Jeter, 257 home runs, 114 to right or right side. Almost half. Kuroda and McCann having some trouble getting together.
That tells me he wants to throw a fastball in when it takes that long, right? To go through it, sinker away, that's his best pitch. Split finger 3-2, slider, which he just threw. Gonzalez Herman getting ready.
And he was up in the first inning, testing things out. 3-2. Murphy slaps one to short. And Jeter up with it, makes the play to retire the side. Let's get closer. Travis d'Arnaud with an opposite field home run. His 3rd home run of the year. Taking advantage of the short porch and right. Cuts the Yankee lead to 4-2 halfway through in the Bronx.
Brett Gardner leads it off for the Yankees in the home 5th inning. They're on top of the Mets here, and as Travis d'Arnaud gets set to catch another inning from Bartolo Colon, told me a story today about his communication with the umpires and just how important it is maybe getting some calls going your way later in the game. He said, you talk about really anything back there. There's a time in the minor leagues when I'm talking during the game with the umpires that I got to know pretty well about the NBA playoffs. He said, but here, I'm still getting to know the guys. One thing, though, I do think there are a couple key things. For me, it's just about being a good guy, opening a dialogue of communication that starts right from the beginning of the game. And I think there's something, at least what I see, of being honest. He gave me a couple of examples. He said, early in the game, we're constantly checking. If a pitch is away, I'll ask what the umpires saw and why. He'll do the same to me, and I'll be honest. I'll say if I thought it was a ball, if it was low, if it was outside. I think that buys me something a little bit later in the game. The other thing that happens when they're talking, this will happen a lot of times when a pitcher comes in, I will tell him and give him kind of the report on what's going on. He said a lot of times, especially if a guy has late movement to a certain direction, I will tell him to look for it. I've gotten some backdoor cutters and things like that, and I believe it because I've alerted the umpire to look for it. So it's a give and take all game long. Gary.
Well, we have seen with d'Arnaud that when it comes to the umpires, he's unfailingly polite. When he goes out to catch the first inning every night, he goes over and shakes the home plate umpire's hand.
Good to have you back, Kev.
Oh, it's good to be back with you guys. You know that.
Do you really mean it?
Of course I mean it.
Gardner hit the grand slam to put the Yankees in front in the second. His second of his career, and Colon just misses 2-2. I think Kevin is completely sincere. Told me how much he misses you, Keith.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch Colon keeping the ball, making sure he gets it away on Gardner here. Made the mistake, of course.
Down the left field side and foul.
Prior at bat. And that's been the difference in the ball game. That was a grand salami right there, and that was crushed. The ball did not get away enough. So, Ronnie, when you make a mistake to a hitter like that who takes you deep, you're more cognizant of, okay, in this case, staying away. Are you more cognizant of making sure you get that ball away from the hitter the next time out?
Away, but more importantly, down. Okay. Gardner's a guy that won't hurt you down. Will he get a base hit? Absolutely. But he will not hurt you if you're down.
Hit hard. Duda with the diving grab. 1 out.
Nicely done, Lucas. Pure reaction. Hang with him, Brett Gardner. Ball was ripped. Another fastball that was out over the plate.
So 1 hard out, and now Derek Jeter is 2 for 2. An infield single in the first, single through the hole in the left in the second. Jeter has not had a 3-hit game this year.
Hey, Keith, I'm curious. We always see first baseman talking to the runner, things like that. Did you have any interaction with the umpires during the game? And if so, what was it?
I was always politicking with those umpires. I could have ran for office with those first base umpires.
Up the middle, past Murphy, and Jeter has a 3-hit night. He hasn't hit a single one of them hard, but they've all found the right spots, and Jeter's 3 for 3.
Well, this one's the hardest hit ball he's hit all night. And as usual, Jeter doing damage to the Mets. Let's see Murph's reaction. A little tardy.
Well, these 4 games, Jeter's getting his last chance to play against a team that he has put up enormous numbers against. Didn't have a 3-hit game all of last year. Of course, he missed a good portion of last year. And now his first 3-hit game of this year. Here's Jacoby Ellsbury, who's 0 for 2, flied out and struck out. And he flies one out to left, and Eric Young right there waiting. 2 out.
Kev mentioned about first base umpires that I would always talk to them. I mean, you always want to be on the good side of the umpire. You want them to like you. You don't expect. You just never know what might happen unconsciously. It might be a close call that goes your way. If you're over there and you're battling them and jawing with them, it's not going to do any good. One of my great ploys was there was 2 umpires in particular that I really worked nicely.
Oh, jeez. Beltran pops one up. David Wright hoping for enough room. He should have it. And he does. Keith will talk more about his electioneering when we come back. 5 in the books in the Bronx. David Wright to lead off. Mets down by 2.
Oh.
Fourth, when the Mets take on the Diamondbacks at 4:10 p.m. The first 20,000 fans will receive a David Wright canvas print courtesy of Pepsi. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. And the very same David Wright will lead off the 6th inning for New York. David drove in the first Met run with a ground ball to short, hit a deep fly ball to center.
It's okay, sweetheart.
Just
got a giraffe.
The giraffe is definitely going to make him feel better, because everybody loves giraffes. I could stand in the zoo for hours and watch the giraffes.
Really? Especially when they're feeding time off the like apples off the tree.
Wright smacks one down the right side.
Oh,
nice play. Oh, that's a terrific play.
Beautiful backhand. Well, he did not bring his glove to the ballpark in vain. That is a nice play.
Sweet. Big night for number 2.
Oh,
all is well.
Good job, Dad.
It's like an extended Mother's Day. Oh, 1 to Wright, and David lines this one. This will stay fair. Soriano gets it on a hop, and Wright has his first hit of the night, and he now has a 10-game hitting streak. And just like that, the Mets will get the tying run to the plate here in the 6th.
David hasn't really tried to steal a lot of bases this year. This is the first year where he's really cut back on his stolen base attempts. He's only tried it 4 times. He's 2 of 4.
Of course, he had the hamstring that cut his year short last year.
That'll get your attention.
So here's Granderson in his favorite ballpark. Tying run at the plate. Short porch and right, and of course Kuroda keeps the ball away from him.
The shift on Curtis, hit the ball. He's really a pull hitter, Curtis. I can really understand this shift.
Again, Jeter playing straight up as a third baseman against Granderson to take away the bunt. Think about that variation of the shift against especially a guy like Granderson who can run.
I don't like leaving the left side of that infield open like that, Ronnie. Would that make you uncomfortable?
Yeah, absolutely, because it makes you have to throw soft and in. And if you're going to throw soft and in because you're looking for the ball to be pulled, they can hit it between the first baseman and second baseman, or of course it's into the strength of Curtis.
But if you throw soft away to a pull hitter, isn't your hope that he's going to roll over it?
You are, but soft and away was thrown to Gardner. And if it's up, it's elevated. There's Alfredo Aceves in the bullpen.
Aceves, who was a candidate to fill in for Sabathia on Thursday, may or may not be able to do that, depending on if he pitches in relief. And Kuroda falls behind Granderson 3-0. Green light?
Anthony Recker had a green light.
It's got to be a green light against a guy like Kuroda who throws strikes. Granderson's hit 64 home runs in this ballpark.
65. Out of here. Granderson ties the game with a 2-run homer. Fourth home run of the year for Granderson back in the Bronx. And the Mets draw even.
Two days in a row, 3-0 hit signs. To Record yesterday, was to no avail. Granderson here, so Terry Collins trying to get the offense going. Nice call. Right down Broadway. Goodbye.
There's no better match than Curtis Granderson's swing and this ballpark.
That's right.
Right on it. I mean, Kuroda's been around long enough not to know better than make a fat one like that, RJ.
Now,
he hates walking people.
Yeah. It works against you sometimes when you hate walking people. You're just going to groove one hoping he's taken. And he wasn't. There's a lot that goes into that. Got to throw a strike. He's got to be swinging. He's got to hit it out of the park. That's a lot of ifs.
Mets have come from 3 runs down on a couple of long balls. Abreu takes a big cut, 1-2. Darno, an opposite field shot in the 5th. And now Granderson, a 2-run shot to get the Mets even. Abreu getting the start at DH today, has struck out and grounded out. Bouncing ball down to Johnson, and he'll take it himself.
Boy, what a difference.
First down. Well, he's up among some pretty big names there. Fastest to 100 home runs as a Yankee. Of course, he had 2 40-plus home run years in 2011 and 2012.
The Mets, a home run starved team, is a home run hitting team here.
Wouldn't just about any team be?
Yes.
There's Lucas Duda, who was robbed of a hit and a great catch by Ellsbury his last time up.
You know what's happening here is that the people in the orange, the Mets fans, are doing what the right field bleacher creatures do for the defense in the first inning. They're giving the chance for every Mets hitter that comes up.
Good job. Good splitter, 1-1. They're going back and forth, the bleacher creatures and the Met fans.
Wait a minute, a soccer match just broke out.
Do we need riot gear? And now the bleacher folk are responding.
This is great.
This is what this rivalry is all about.
This is great.
Love it.
Decibel level up.
And for you fans at home, Keith and I were in uniform, you love this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You just love it.
Yep.
Feed off it.
Absolutely.
It's really why this rivalry, along with the other intercity rivalries, Chicago, Southern California, Northern California, are so different from all the rest. Because you have in every game, wherever it's played, here, Citi Field, Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, U.S. Cellular, Wrigley Field, you always have fans of both teams in large numbers able to go back and forth. And that just makes it so much more special.
You have divisions intra-family.
2-2 from Kuroda. And Duda goes down on strikes. Good splitter by Kuroda for his third strikeout. 2 out of the inning.
Lucas has just got to learn to lay off speed pitches down and in, and breaking stuff down and in. That's where he likes it, and he gets too eager.
Now Chris Young doubled down the left field line, struck out, 1 for 2. Chris lays off the slider, ball 1.
So a bloop in the blast, and the Mets are back in the ball game.
David Wright takes exception to that. 4-1 to Young.
Not after scoring a run. No, he doesn't.
You take them any way you can get them. That was a soft liner. Wasn't a bloop.
There you go. The one he hit before was harder. Again, one that Fan caught.
It's a soft liner.
10-game hitting streak for Wright, and a 2-run homer for Granderson. Into the shift. And that's right where Jeter is. To throw out Chris Young, side retirement. The Mets get even on a 3-0 pitch. Curtis Granderson gets the green light and knows what to do with it. His 65th home run at the new Yankee Stadium gets the Mets even 4-4 in the 6th. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning at Yankee Stadium, and if you're wondering about the Subway Series tail of the tape, it would appear as though the 7 trains got the advantage. Shorter wait time, better chance of getting a seat. I mean, that's a pretty substantial advantage for the 7 over the 4. Now the D train was not considered in this.
Why not? The bias against the West Side.
Brian McCann leads off the home 6th, 1 for 2.
Well, I know you have too, Gary. I'm one of those guys, and Keith has too. I've ridden both of those trains, and the convenience of the trains of getting off and going to the ballpark is about as great as it gets.
3-0 to McCann, and he likes swinging 3-0. We know that from his days in Atlanta, so watch out, Bartolo. Soriano and Solarte to follow. And McCann takes a strike. By the way, horrendous news for Major League Baseball. It is just passing around now that the Marlins' wonderful young pitcher Jose Fernandez is going to require Tommy John surgery. Another one. I think that's 34 this year, and by far the most important pitcher to go down.
Love watching that kid pitch.
I mean, it's an epidemic. McCann pops one foul. There have been plenty of pitchers get hurt over the last decades, and Tommy John surgery saved a lot of them. But how can you possibly explain the current bubble of season-ending Tommy John surgeries? Do you have any theories?
I don't. I mean, I don't know if it's, is it happenstance this year? I mean, it's just so puzzling that, I mean, you can't blame everything on, I've heard every excuse. Teams feel as though they have a kind of way of training their pitchers to make sure they don't get hurt. But, who's had Jose Fernandez upbringing? Nobody.
Right.
It's not like he's a high school kid overthrew a travel team, or a college kid who was overused by his college coach.
8th pitch to McCann, and he hits one in the air to right field. Will the ballpark hold it? It apparently will. Granderson is there. 1 out. Well, there's no question about one thing, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Pitchers as a group are throwing harder than ever. Could that be part of it?
Well, no, it's absolutely part of it. And they're also being trained to, they're being trained as kind of sprinters to run a mile. Sevy's still up.
Do you think, Ronnie, too, the fact that they're throwing harder and then therefore throwing a harder slider, that add to it?
Soriano drills one toward the left field corner, and that hops into the stands for a ground rule double. So Soriano has his second hit of the night.
Keith, there are always those freaks of nature like Nolan Ryan, Sandy, of course, Sandy Koufax, guys who could on every pitch go 100%. But I think I told you guys the other day, I mean, most pitchers of my generation, maybe a dozen times a game, you would just rear back and let it go as hard as you can let it go. And you see a lot of guys today, they are start the game, but with this attitude. I'm going to go as hard as I can, as long as I can. Instead of saying, you know what, I have a beginning, a middle, and an end to every start. I always think starting is like running long distance. You start. In the middle, it's really painful. And if you complete it and finish it, you have a great feeling at the very end. That's kind of what starting pitching used to be.
You get a second win, too, late in the ball game.
Like Dylan G got the other day.
And you know what? They're not conditioned and trained today to go the distance.
They're trained to throw 95 miles an hour and go as far as you can, and then we'll pick you up.
It's almost as though every starter is really a reliever, just going more innings, right? Solarte takes outside, and it's 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, if they get 18 outs, that's a successful day.
Right.
That to me is not a successful day, but baseball.
But that's what's being asked of them,
Views it that way.
And could that be that entire attitude, as you say, being a sprinter rather than a marathoner, be a contributing factor? And if that's the case, and I don't know if anybody can determine if that's the case, can you go backwards? Is there a way of training pitchers to conserve themselves and not go all out on every pitch?
You can't go backwards. What has happened now, Gary, is that if you are a young man and you can throw 90 plus.
Solarte swinging 3-0, drives one into right. Soriano's being waved home. Granderson will not make a throw, and the Yankees regain the lead. So the rookie Solarte turned loose on 3-0. Worked for Granderson. It works for the Yankees, and they go back in front 5-4.
Well, why wouldn't you, with a left-hander, particularly against a right-hander in this ballpark, let your left-hand hitter swing 3-0?
You said it before, Gary. Both pitchers hate to walk people, so you know you're going to get a strike.
Solarte's 21st run batted in.
Well, Solarte does one thing that I noticed, and that's Dan Warthen coming out of a chat with Cologne on the mound, that Solarte stays level in his swing.
Cologne down by 3. The Mets come back to tie, and the Yankees have now gone back in front. But talking about the Jose Fernandez, what looks like an impending Tommy John surgery, and what this means for baseball in the long run. You're talking about young pitchers who it just seems as though it's a fait accompli that at some point they're going to have this surgery.
It's just awful to lose those kind of players. See Carlos Torres. I mean, stars of the game. Harvey last year having a phenomenal season, can't finish it. Fernandez now in a year of work, now gone for another year. It's obvious one thing though, and this is from the grassroots level and from these traveling teams and everything else. Look in the mirror, because you're getting these kids to a point where they can light up the radar gun, get a contract, and blow out. So if that's what you want, congratulations.
And it seems as though they want to be careful with pitchers. They've got that in their mind to be careful, and the way they're being careful is with pitch limits and innings limits. But maybe that's not really being careful. Maybe that's not what is necessary to be careful. As Johnson drives one toward the gap, Chris Young on the run, won't get there. Can't flag it down. Solarte being waved around third. He'll score easily. Johnson trying for third, and he'll make it with a triple, and the Yankees lead 6-4. Well, the Mets opted to put Juan Lagares on the bench tonight. I don't know if he would have caught this, but he might have come closer to it.
Well, if he didn't catch it, it's going to be held more than likely to a double instead of a triple. That's key that Kelly Johnson gets to third base. Sacrifice fly. Now the Mets got to bring the infield in. And Cologne, given a new lease on life, hasn't been able to hold the tie.
So 3 straight hits. Soriano with a double. Solarte singles him in. Kelly Johnson with a triple to get a run in. 6-4 Yankees. Infield in for Brian Roberts. And he slugs one foul. Nothing and 1. Roberts is lined out to first, flied out to left. Cologne, not a big strikeout pitcher at this point in his career, but he could sure use one now.
Just hurts after you score a couple of runs and you tie the game. You know, that is, every starting pitcher knows. No one wants to give up runs, but every starting pitcher knows that inning is just so important. Get your team back in the dugout, not to be here in the 6th.
Got 2 fastballs upstairs to hit, fouled him back. You got to really bear down now. Got to put the ball in play if you're a hitter.
0-2 from Cologne. Slap to short. Play at the plate. Tejada, and they get Johnson in the rundown. Wright puts the tag on, and holding at first base is Roberts. So the Mets execute perfectly with Johnson running on contact. 6-2-5 on the fielder's choice.
Well, nicely done on the rundown here. D'Arnaud run. You want to run the runner back to the back base, and Wright closing. That's beautiful fundies, and that prevents the runner from advancing to second base.
The advantage there is D'Arnaud has some real speed for a catcher. He's able to get the guy going towards third.
So a big out, now 2 down in the inning, and here's Brett Gardner, who has the biggest hit of all in this game, a grand slam back in the 2nd. Roberts can steal a base. He's got 4 this year. He's at first with 2 out. Last time up, Gardner was robbed of a hit. Lucas Duda making a lunging grab of a line drive.
You know, it's a good time with the leadoff hitter up here, the ninth hitter in the lineup, even though it's DH on first to steal a base, but not in this ballpark with a left-hand hitter up in the short porch. You don't want to run yourself out of an inning.
Good call.
One to Gardner.
Plus his other at bat, Keith. He had a strikeout to start, but he had the grand slam, and then he hit that linear to Duda. So he's seeing Cologne well.
One mistake to a left-hand hitter here, and you could be rubbing up a new one. No offense, Ryan.
I only did it 250 so times, so none taken.
Runs that fastball on the inside corner. He's had success with that all day.
He's not happy with that call. He thought it bent around the inside corner. Gardner, of course, was not happy.
I guess Estabrook's given that pitch to both pitchers tonight.
But I'm thinking of Bartolo, when he looks back on this game, he'd probably say to himself, boy, he should have used that more. Getting that pitch.
Roberts at first and 2 down. 2 runs home in the inning for the Yankees as they've regained the lead. 1-2 to Gardner. Pulled toward the hole. Murphy can't get it. Base hit. Roberts going first to third. So Gardner has his second hit of the night, just eluding the dive of Daniel Murphy. 4th hit of the inning and the 11th of the night against Cologne, and that's going to be the last pitch he throws. Derek Jeter coming up. Carlos Torres will be coming into the game. So another difficult night at the office for Bartolo Colon. He'll exit after 5 2/3. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Audi Truth in Engineering. Carlos Torres coming in. We'll be right back. The Mets take on the Yankees at 7:10. The first 10,000 fans can trade in old caps for a new Mets cap, courtesy of Chevrolet. Take the train to the game with the Long Island Railroad. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Subway Series. Carlos Torres comes in to try and get Derek Jeter out.
His last appearance, he had a no decision against Philadelphia when he went 1 perfect inning. Well, Carlos seems like he pitches every day, doesn't it?
Well, he had yesterday off.
Oh, very nice.
Roberts at third, Gardner at first. Huge spot here as Torres tries to keep the Mets in it. Jeter's already 3 for 3 tonight. His first 3-hit game in a season and a half. None of the 3 balls hit particularly hard, but first one was hit up the middle. Tejada made a diving stop, couldn't throw him out. Second one snuck through the hole on the left side. Third one snuck by Murphy up the middle. Welcome to Jeter against the Mets.
Well, go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I was just going to say, you've got a strength against strength. You got a right field hitter and a pitcher who likes to throw that cutter from the middle of the plate away.
Pretty much straight away on Jeter. And this is the old axiom here. When you bring in a reliever, what do managers look for? Get that first out, first batter. Why? Because of situations like this. This is a big run on third base. A double will score the back runner, and the game is 8-4. It is critical out.
We saw the updated numbers for Jeter with his 3 for 3 tonight. Now 374 lifetime against the Mets. He might catch Rico Carty by the end of the night. Carty was at 380. There goes Gardner. Jeter swings and misses. Darno's throw goes into center field, and that'll cost a run. Roberts trots in to score, and it's 7-4.
Well, Darno usually very accurate. This one he threw into the next county.
Now, this is a rookie mistake or a young person's mistake. You've got to know that if you don't have a good grip in it, you do not make that throw. Give your pitcher a chance to get out of the inning.
Stolen base for Gardner. Error on Darno, allowing the run to score. 2-1 to Jeter, and he takes the cutter off the plate, and it's 3-1.
It's a strange game, but sometimes you have to have the wits about you that not to throw a guy out. Give your pitcher a chance. Second and third, 2 outs. Can still get out of it.
3 runs now home in the inning. Gardner in scoring position. Torres behind 3-1 on Jeter. Little tapper, and it runs into it, and he's out.
Call him out. Yep.
Fair ball. Jeter ran into it, and it's a put out. Give it to the catcher, 2 unassisted to end the inning.
And once he breaks out of the box there, he's trying to get out of the way. He didn't see it. Good call.
Ball was clearly in fair territory when it hit Jeter. But the Yankees get 3 runs in that bottom of the 6th inning. We go to the 7th, 7-4 Yankees. Photo of the game. It's going to be that woman and her selfie, do you think? Nope.
No.
Now that is that baby's got to be just a few days old, right? Already indoctrinated into Metdom. Alfredo Aceves will come on in relief for the Yankees after Hiroki Kuroda went 6.
Well, you see the umpires coming in to speak to Aceves about the mound. Does he not like the mound and wants the grounds crew to come out and fix it?
I'm sure if somebody left a hole there, whether it was Kuroda or Colon, but the grounds crew is being summoned.
Well, they were too busy doing the YMCA.
That's exactly right. Bad timing. They were in choreography mode rather than grounds crew mode.
Was there any pitcher ever, Ronnie, that, you know, I'm sure it's going to be in front where you plant your foot.
Yeah.
Was there ever a pitcher that dug a hole where you didn't like it?
Not dug a hole, but Oral Hershiser used to always get the mound repaired, and I always got a little upset if I was pitching against him. Not that it's his fault, but it would delay the game, and I was, come on.
Here they come.
So they've ditched their dance steps and brought out their rakes and shovels and repair equipment.
Let's see where they dig up here a little bit. I bet you it's where he plants his foot in front of the rubber. Oh, little sweepage. Ah, there's a big hole right there. That's what he doesn't like.
Now whose hole is that? Is that Kuroda?
That's Kuroda's hole. That's Kuroda's. He would hook the edge of the mound, rubber.
Well, there is the subject of one of today's announcements by the Mets. Henry Mejia, for the conceivable future, is going to be a relief pitcher, and he is up and available in the bullpen tonight.
They are working at a feverish pace here.
You know, guys get so locked in to where they throw from. In this day and age, well, a lot of days and ages.
Why are they using the rake instead of the big pounder right there? The guy's holding that blue pounder, that heavy thing.
Well, he's coming next, buddy. You got to be patient. That's coming next.
You got to wait your turn. Got to wait your turn. Got to rake it.
I tell you what, they're working quick. This is good work.
You got to get these guys at Sag Harbor for your place, Keith.
Bravo, guys.
You know, if Keith's gardeners had to work with an audience.
Gardeners?
Landscapers. You never know how quickly they might work.
Actually,
the whole world is watching.
The weeds are coming up now big time because of the heat.
Oh, that's right.
I got a phone call in today, and then they're going to come and pull because I'm not doing it.
Well, we never thought so.
Well, now Aceves can test out the mound for himself.
That was beautiful. You know, the one thing, there's a couple of reasons why Aceves is in this game. You know, they signed him. He went down to AAA, pitched a couple of games. He's back up. He's a big league pitcher. But he's also a guy that can pitch in relief and start. So he'll come in here, pitch for Kuroda, maybe an inning, maybe two. But he'll also maybe be able to make that start on Thursday in place of CC Sabathia if he pitches in the first game of the series.
So you see he pitches closer to where that hole was by Kuroda. So he's a little bit to the third base side of that where that hole was. So I can understand his concern over that divot, I guess you'd want to call it, created by his teammate.
Aceves, guy who has pitched in every role in his career.
I've got to say one thing. That was great work by the ground crew.
Impressive.
They went out there they knew that they can't keep people waiting. They went out there and got that repaired in a quick pace. Bravo, guys.
So Kuroda went 6, allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 home runs, in line to be a winning pitcher. Travis d'Arnaud began the Mets' comeback with a home run in the 5th inning. Granderson hit a 2-run homer in the 6th. Then the Yankees scored 3 to regain the lead. d'Arnaud takes below the knees. 1-1. Ruben Tejado's hit 2 bullets tonight without result, waiting on deck. Eric Young behind him. And Darno watches the fastball outside, 3-1. There's not been a walk on either side tonight. We knew going in with Kuroda and Colon we probably wouldn't see many walks. Seen plenty of hard hit balls tonight. Here with bullpen coach Ricky Bonas looking on, getting ready, and sure enough, first guy out of the bullpen walks the first man he faces. So Darno is aboard with a leadoff walk. And now Tejada, who had a liner to left that Gardner caught, and then a bullet to third that Solarte one hopped. So Tejada, after a big night yesterday, now 0 for 2. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Snyder's of Hanover. Taste how great a pretzel can be.
Ruben trying to get off the interstate. Very close. 191. Base hit should do it.
Darno at first and nobody out. And a breaking ball strike. Well, the Mets brought up Wilmer Flores to play short. Basically told Tejada, you're going to be a bench player. Flores started 2 games. He looked okay. Got sick. Couldn't play yesterday. Still a little woozy and not able to play today. Tejada took advantage of his opportunity yesterday. There's Wilmer.
Well, you know what I say to that?
Wally Pipp.
How many times I played with some severe sinus? RJ knows. Got to go out there and play. It's a big opportunity. I know that's a very, very nasty virus going around.
I mean, is it as easy as saying that a burr was put in Tejada's saddle and he responded to it? Or is it just happenstance?
Boy, it's a hard call, Gary, because if he needed that burr, shame on him. Shouldn't have needed that prodding, especially if you're only a third-year player.
Well, the Mets have done a lot of prodding with Tejada over the last year or so.
Not all of it positive.
No.
A little bit, some of it, a minority of it, unjust, I felt.
Well, the fact is, he had a terrific day yesterday. Cap-back game-winning hit. He made a great defensive play tonight. He's hit 2 balls hard. That time, a bad at bat as he strikes out against Aceves for the first down.
Little slider here from Aceves. He's got a nice repertoire of pitches. 92, 93 on the fastball, sinking action slider.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Eric Young. EY's 2 for 3, a single and a double. He stole on the base, scored a run after 3 hits yesterday in his return to the lineup. It's really funny how things work over the course of a season and seasons. You know, last year the Mets kind of got a spark when EY came over from Colorado and Lagares came up from the minors, and they both started to play every day.
Driven to deep right field. Back goes Soriano, looking up. It's out of here. Eric Young with his first home run of the year, a 2-run shot. And the Mets pull within a run. It's now 7-6. The first 3-home run game for the Mets since opening day. They've come to a home run haven and taken full advantage. And EY has his second straight 3-hit game.
Well, talk about prodding. EY, of course, getting a chance to play and making the most of it.
It's like standing on a tee with the wind behind you.
It is.
You just feel like you have home run muscles when you come here.
Boy, I wouldn't want to pitch here. No thanks.
So the Mets now down by a run. It's a team that came from 3 runs down in the 9th inning to win yesterday. They were 3 runs down early, tied it up, 3 runs down again, and they pulled to within a run.
Well, this is all fine and dandy if you're playing 81 games in a ballpark like this. But Mets play 81 games at Citi Field.
Eric Young has gone 321 at bats since his last home run last August the 2nd against Kansas City. Murphy takes a strike. Murph 0 for 3 tonight. 3 ground ball outs. Matt Thornton the left-hander, Preston Claiborne the right-hander up in the Yankee bullpen as Aceves has been greeted rudely. A walk and a 2-run homer. That's homering in 3 straight innings. Scott Rice has been busy in the Mets bullpen with Ellsbury, Beltran, and McCann due up for the Yankees. He should be in the 7th. 2-1 from Aceves. Murphy hits one toward the middle of the diamond, and that'll be a base hit. And now the tying run is aboard with David Wright coming up. First hit of the night for Murphy.
Broken bat hit. Well placed. Take him any way you can get them.
So now Wright is 1 for 3. Had an opposite field single, a line drive. In front of Granderson's 2-run homer his last time up.
What's the matter now?
He said line drive to right field.
Oh.
You remember you called it.
I called it a bloop and a blast, then I changed it to a soft liner.
Murphy, of course, will sneak a stolen base every now and again. Wright fouls off the cutter, 0-1.
Boy, Aceves right down the pipe with this one. David had a big rip. Just been under. Got that uppercut going. This is right down Broadway. Wow. Gee.
Granderson on deck. Homered his last time up. It's down a run in the 7th. And at the knees to Wright, 0-2.
Changeup.
0-2 changeup.
0-2 changeup. Porquet. Not bad though. Good location. Slide ball.
1-2 to Wright. In there for a call, strike 3. 2 out.
All kinds of plate. Froze David. That's right down the middle. It happens. You freeze on it. Boy, if you keep your shoulder in, you rip city.
Curtis Granderson coming up. So Joe Girardi will bring in his lone left-hander out of the bullpen. The veteran Matt Thornton called to the bullpen, brought to you by Audi. Truth in Engineering. 7-6 Yankees in the 7th. We'll be right back. tonight. The Mets and Yankees going back and forth. Gardner with a grand slam. Mets fight back. Home runs by d'Arnaud and Granderson. Great play by Ellsbury. The Yankees go back out in front. The Mets with a response as Eric Young hits a 2-run homer, and on we go in the 7th. Mets have the tying run on base. Yankees go to the bullpen again. And the veteran Matt Thornton will come in.
Well, he was a mainstay of that Chicago White Sox bullpen forever. Traded over to the Red Sox late in the season last year and signed a 2-year contract with the Yankees this offseason.
Thornton has had great numbers against Curtis Granderson, so this is the matchup Girardi wanted. Curtis just 3 for 20 against Thornton. He used to throw 96, 97. He's more 93, 94 these days. Murphy at first with 2 down. Granderson in his return to the Bronx, 2 for 3, a 2-run homer that tied the game in the 6th. Now trying to retie it or better here in the 7th.
Well, this is a big out. You're in the 7th inning. You get the 1 out here, and then you get to your setup man and then your closer. So we're at that point in the game where your manager starts making moves. And Granderson, of course, Gary, you said that he doesn't throw, has good numbers against Thornton, and Thornton doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but still Curtis' lifetime BA is around 228 against left-handers. You got to make this move.
That stacked their left-handers today. Granderson, Abreu, Duda hitting 4, 5, 6. And in part they did that because the Yankees only have the 1 left-hander in the bullpen. There's no Boone Logan out there this year.
Even a lefty-lefty matchup. Murph can't go here, Keith. You got to let Granderson take a swipe at it.
Yep.
In this ballpark. And Curtis swings through the fastball, and it's 0-2.
Still throws hard enough, I'll tell you.
Yep. Big, tall kid. Right over the top.
Curtis is a down hitter.
Murphy only a half a step off the bag.
You know, as Gary, look at the scoreboard, as bad as the Cubs are, they've been whooping on the Cardinals this year.
Have a big lead tonight.
Early, I thought it was the 4th inning.
9-2. Oh, 2 from Thornton. Upstairs. Bobby Abreu would be next. One, 2 to Granderson. Off the plate. 2-2.
Not one pitch inside this at bat so far.
Thornton now 37 years old. Trying to get 1 big out here in the 7th. 2-2 to Granderson. Fouled away.
Got a pitch there. That pitch was down.
It's down, but he's got 2 strikes.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
It's a pitch you want early in the count, you know, right down the middle. But you're protecting.
You think Granderson protects?
I don't.
Again, the 2-2. Murphy runs. Ball 3. Murphy out. Hitting over. Solarte covering in second, and the shift 2-5 on the caught stealing, and the bat left in Granderson's hands. Second time this year Murphy's been caught, and no challenge from the Mets. Your local Nissan store for the ride of your life and save big today. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Tour of Yankee Stadium brought to you by the New York Lottery. Hey, you never know. Ball playing going on right across the street from the new Yankee Stadium. Got a little bit of the facade from the old ballpark there. And then we take you inside, where better than 46,000 are on hand tonight to watch the Mets and Yankees play the first of 4. Monument Park dwarfed by the George Steinbrenner tribute. Don't quite get that. Meanwhile, Scott Rice takes the mound for the bottom of the 7th with left-hand hitters coming up for the Yankees.
Well, mini comeback by the Mets, so important for Scott Rice to get through this inning unscathed.
Let's go back to the caught stealing for Daniel Murphy to end the top of the inning.
Well, ill-advised with a short porch. Granderson already hit a home run. Now, even with a lefty and Granderson has struggles. One mistake. You just can't do that. You can't run yourself out of a ballpark, out of the inning. I'm sorry.
He took that pitch for ball 3. He'd gotten back into the at-bat. Sometimes you got to have a feel for the game. Granderson, his first time back to Yankee Stadium, he's hit one out. He's got another hit. You know he's working on one of those magical days. Let him have it.
Well, you can always put a stop sign on, too, you know. That's what I don't understand.
Jacoby Ellsbury leads off the home 7th. Interesting development on deck. Carlos Beltran, the DH, due up next, but John Ryan Murphy has come out on deck. Now, I know Beltran has swung better lefty than he has righty, but that's odd.
But he also had some awkward swings left-handed, like he's just not feeling right.
Henry Mejia moved to the bullpen today. Gets up for the 2nd time. So Murphy, the right-hand batter, on deck to pinch hit for Beltran against Rice. And Ellsbury swings over the sinker. 0-2.
That's the pitch Rice has to throw with consistency to lefties. That is unhittable. Ron, look at his sink. That is so unhittable. I can tell you.
Because you never see it.
You see it, but it just sinks under. It sinks late. It's like a Roger McDowell sinker. It's got that late sink, and it's going to get under your bat. That location too.
Plays off that one. 1-2.
I can equate it to you're in an NBA game and a guy has made 6 3-pointers and it's the end of the game and he's open and you end up taking the 3-pointer. What are you thinking? I mean, let him have his day. It's his day in this ballpark.
Well, and I think that's a big caveat.
Yeah, of course
right
it
there.
is.
I mean, the Mets had homered in 3 consecutive innings. Loving the long ball in this ballpark.
Well, I'm not saying he's going to hit a home run, but you got to give him a chance to do it.
Well, there's another piece to that. You know, Murphy had the stretch of 28 consecutive stolen bases, but a lot of that was the surprise element. Well, now people have taken away the surprise element. They're looking for him.
And Thornton threw over there, what, 3 or 4 times?
Yes, he did. He kept them close. So, I don't care if the Mets had played 50 games in a row here and hadn't hit a home run with this ballpark. You don't run yourself out of the inning when you're down a run with a guy that hit 40 home runs here 2 years in a row.
3-2 to Ellsbury, and he struck him out. Good sinker by Rice for the first out of the 7th.
Really tells me that maybe Scott Rice was pitching through a little bit of an injury there for a while because he had that back strain, took a couple of days off and has come back and he's got the sharpness on that sinker. He's throwing strikes before. Remember, he's bouncing it before the plate, not even close.
Well, now John Ryan Murphy pinch hits in the DH spot. His big league career off to a rip-roaring start. Murphy, the Princeton product, who will turn 23 tomorrow.
They're all over the place. Eli's, what's going on?
I got nothing to say. Right now we're being shut out, so I got nothing to say. I will say this. That Princeton program is in really good hands.
Yes, it is, right? Mr. Bradley has that program.
Scott Bradley, former big leaguer. Has produced a bunch, including Matt Bowman, who's in the Mets farm system. One and one to Murphy with Brian McCann on deck.
Interesting to see if we hear anything about Carlos.
Well, you know, they already have Teixeira banged up. Sat out today and was hoping to play tomorrow. With Beltran coming out of this game, you have to wonder whether he'll be available tomorrow. 1-2 to Murphy.
Breaking ball here.
Murphy got 26 big league at bats last year. Didn't fare well, but off to a very hot start this year. Kevin making friends wherever he goes.
Kevin's very popular.
1-2 from Rice to Murphy, and he bounces the breaking ball. Oh, they're serenading Burkhardt with one more year.
That is great.
Nice.
Sorry, folks.
We could only hope.
He's in his walk year.
Couldn't we get some amass some dollars here and get him to re-up? 2-2. Cecil miss. Rice thought he had it. Boy, but didn't get the call from Mike Estabrook. 3-2.
That's what happens, right? When you're red hot, you get the call.
Little bouncer off his foot, a foul ball. John Ryan Murphy, not to be confused with John J. Murphy, after whom the Mets Spring Training Rookie Award is named. Johnny Murphy, the former general manager of the Mets back in the 60s.
That's for the best rookie, right, in spring training?
Again, the 3-2 from Rice. Outside, ball 4. So Murphy works out a one-out walk. That's the first walk issued by Met pitching tonight. Met pitching staff started tonight having issued the second most walks in the National League. And that's obviously an area the Mets want to correct. A lot of that's come from the bullpen. So now McCann, who's 1 for 3, singled and scored a run back in the second. Mets scored first. They got a run in the first, manufactured by Eric Young. Brett Gardner hit a grand slam off Colon in the second. Mets fought back with home runs from d'Arnaud and Granderson to get even in the 6th. Yankees put up 3 more runs in the bottom of the 6th. Mets got 2 of those back on an Eric Young home run in the top of the 7th.
I just realized, looking at McCann here, I've never seen him this thin in a long time. He really dropped the LBs.
Well, he had to. I mean, he was, his body was breaking down regularly during his last few years with the Braves. Turns out of the way as he takes a slider for a strike. 1-1.
Maybe it's the pinstripes suit him, Kate.
They're very slimming.
That's right. You don't want to wear horizontal stripes if you're a little wide.
The old Astros uniform.
Oh God, were they awful? They were awful.
That's with a full shift on against McCann, with Murphy at first and 1 out. And another slider for a strike. 1-2. Alfonso Soriano has hit the ball hard all night, waiting on deck. Soriano had been slumping. He didn't look like it against Colon. One, 2. And d'Arnaud can't handle it. Murphy breaks for second. The throw on a hop. Not in time. Aggressive base running by the rookie catcher, John Ryan Murphy.
And rightly so. You got to go on that one. This should have been this close.
Better throw would have had him.
He got a good break.
Wild pitch charged to Rice. 2-2 the count to McCann. Struck him out. Good comeback by Rice to strike out McCann. 2 down. And here comes Terry Collins.
That's that split finger. Just the bottom drops out of it. Never gets there.
Well, Soriano's coming up. And Henry Mejia, who was just sent to the bullpen today, is going to make his first relief appearance of the year. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Audi Truth in Engineering. 7-6 Yankees. We'll be right back. Brought to you by McDonald's. Biggest swing of this game came in the second inning.
Well, it produced the maximum amount of runs.
Brett Gardner's second career grand slam put the Yankees up 4-1. They're up 7-6 now in the seventh. And the man who does not want to be in the bullpen is coming out of the bullpen for the Mets.
Well, it's interesting. They had a bit long talk today with Henry Mejia, Dan Worthen, and Terry Collins, and they tried to stress not that Henry was being demoted, but that the bullpen is in need of a fresh, live arm, and he's got it. Saw that first relief appearance since 2012.
Well, he came to the big leagues as a reliever in 2010. Made 30 relief appearances that year. Wound up making a few starts late in the year. Was out all of 2011 because of injury. Came back in 2012. Made 3 starts, 2 relief outings. Last year returned from injury to make 5 starts, 7 more this year. But he has said all along he wants to be a starter, in part because he believes that being a reliever leaves him more susceptible to injury. And the Mets need to kind of dissuade him of that. Well, I don't know how well they've done that, but here is Henry pitching to Alfonso Soriano in a 1-run game in the 7th.
A big league salary will dissuade him.
And Soriano takes the cutter for a strike. So if you're Henry Mejia and you go to the mound out of the bullpen, are you going to do anything different than you've been doing?
He does the same thing as a starter. Get out there, max effort 100%, and have that cutting action on your fastball. That's his best pitch. Maybe an occasional slider, but that cutter will be what he'll feature 75% of the time. Hanging slider there, though. Again, you have to. Well, that's in the middle of the plate, a mistake. Soriano will swing at anything. So once you get to 0-2, you don't have to throw a strike. Keep that in mind if you're a pitcher.
Soriano's hit 3 balls hard tonight. Single, double, and hard ground out. And he goes down on 3 pitches. Mejia comes in. First relief outing in 2 years. 1-2-3 disposes of Soriano. That might make him feel better about the role. On to the 8th, 7-6 Yankees.
Up and in, Ronnie.
Beautiful.
It's the can't miss episode of the season, and it's this Wednesday at 8 right here on the CW.
Is that the final reminder?
I don't know. It might be
I got
additional reminder.
I got it. I'm just telling you, letting you know.
Curtis Granderson back at the plate with a fresh at bat after Daniel Murphy was caught stealing down the 7th. So he's seen a lot of Matt Thornton already. So 6 pitches in his at bat in the 7th that was aborted. Granderson 2 for 3, a single and a 2-run homer. Thornton falls behind him 2-0. Eric Campbell has come out on deck to bat for Abreu. Preston Claiborne, the right-hander, up in the Yankee bullpen.
Interesting, the older pitcher who's usually a specialty lefty who comes in and gets 1 out and leaves now has had to sit and come back out to face Granderson after Murphy was thrown out.
That's the problem. You'll only have 1 lefty in your pan, and Granderson pops one up into shallow right. And the second baseman Roberts right under it. 1 out. So now Campbell will come up to pinch hit. We'll see whether Girardi makes the move, because remember, you got Duda after Campbell. And Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, will go out instead. So it looks like they'll leave Thornton in.
They're going to leave him in because of Duda.
Yeah.
And they're just going to give him a little scouting report on this young man who no one. They've only got scouting reports from the minor leagues.
He's got the scouting report. He's vulnerable if you try to walk him intentionally on the first pitch. After that, it becomes a little vulnerable.
You saw David Robertson, the Yankee closer, getting up here in the 8th inning. So perhaps Joe Girardi's thinking about a more than 3-out save chance for Robertson, depending on what transpires here. Campbell picked up his first big league hit yesterday afternoon, a single to center field in the 4th inning. That was a nice Mother's Day gift for his mom.
Nice. Can't get any better than that.
Harris 1 for 4. Remember, he had a sac fly the first time he swung a bat in the major leagues. That was 2 nights ago. He takes a strike from Thornton. Duda waiting on deck. Of course, the Mets have a limited bench tonight with the DH. Only 4 players on the bench and all right-hand hitters.
Well, with the DH, you really don't need that much of a bench.
Thornton quickly ahead 0-2 on Campbell. Takes it outside.
Thornton's still throwing pretty good. 37 years old. They lost Boone Logan, who signed a 3-year contract, and replaced him with Thornton.
His numbers have not been good, Thornton. Whip over 1.5. ERA over 6.
Ouch.
Excuse me, ERA over 2.5, but the whip is what's troubling.
Yeah.
Walks and hits more than 1.5 per inning. Grounded down to third, and it goes off the arm of Solarte and into left field. Campbell takes the turn. He's going to try for 2. The throw by Gardner, not in time. Aggressive base running by Eric Campbell, and the tying run is in scoring position. A bullet one-hopper that ate up Solarte, and Campbell winds up on second.
Little cutter. He could have got in front. He was in a nice sidle there to the left, and he stopped. He could have got in front of that ball and taken it in the midsection, and it would have been a 5-3 on your scorecard. Instead, he brought out the red cape and olayed it.
Remember earlier in the game, he played a ball off to the side also. This is a technique that is allowed to be taught. How about Campbell with the hustle?
He'll get credit for a double. So they left the lefty in to face Campbell. Campbell gets a 2-base hit, his second big league hit, first extra base hit, and now Duda bats with a tying run at second. And Lucas takes outside. Duda 0 for 3 tonight. Hit one ball well to left center that Ellsbury made a terrific catch on.
Interesting how the game works. He plays that ball in front of him and doesn't make the play. It's an error. He plays it out to the side. It's a double.
And Lucas watches wide. 2-0. Duda just 3 for 16 against left-hand pitching this year. Chris Young is the on-deck batter. Larry Rothschild, the veteran pitching coach, looking on. He's already seen a Savas struggle in relief tonight. And now Thornton gives up that double. 2-0 to Duda. Good rip. 96 from Thornton. Mets 6 runs and 10 hits. The Yankees 7 runs and 11 hits.
A lot of little talking going on between the skipper and this pitching coach.
Probably mostly about Robertson and how far they'd like to go with him.
I think if Thornton gets Duda out, Robertson's coming in.
5-out save? No, 4-out save.
He gets him, Off the plate, 3-1. But if he doesn't get him, would you bring him in for 5 outs? Is that pushing it?
I think it's pushing it. I think Claiborne then is going to have to come in. 4, 5. I mean,
it's like you're lefty in there to get a lefty out. You don't want to walk him.
Well, Duda's got a positive count. 3-1 from Thornton. Broken bat, Bloom. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Here comes Campbell around third. The throw to the plate by Ellsbury. It's going to be close. Safe, but the game is tied. Duda breaks his bat, drives in the tying run, and we'll see whether Girardi's inclined to challenge on a close play at the plate. They get on the phone with the video coordinator to see whether they want to challenge.
Nice strong throw by Ellsbury here. Right on the money. Perfect one hop, and you got a catcher that's afraid to get and block the plate. He's safe.
Good call by the home plate umpire Mike Estabrook. Right on top of it. Hand hits the plate before any tag.
Nice slide by Campbell. Now that's the time you can either. That is going around the tag. I prefer the feet first. But this is the one instance where you can make that slide. Beautifully done.
Mets come from 3 runs down to tie for the second time tonight. 7-7 of the 8th. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Audi. Truth in engineering. bullpen.
Yes, those are his numbers. Outstanding with the 6 punch outs, 4 walks. That's the only Achilles heel there, but all the rest of the numbers are great.
Mets up the go-ahead run at second with 1 out. Chris Young at the plate is 1 for 3 tonight, a double back in the second. Mets have rallied from 3 runs down to tie twice tonight. They were down 4-1, got even, down 7-4, and they've gotten even again. Lucas Duda breaks his bat, gets the go-ahead hit. Good slide by Campbell, and Duda took second on the throw to the plate, and each team now lucky 7-11.
Give me to Vegas.
Claiborne spent some time in the minor leagues early this season, but now appears to be a mainstay in that Yankee pen.
Young drives one deep left field. Back goes Gardner near the wall. It's out of here. The Mets take the lead. Their 4th home run of the night. Chris Young, a 2-run shot. His 3rd of the year, and it's 9-7 Mets. The Mets homer for the 4th consecutive inning. And this one not to the short porch, but to the deep part of the ballpark and left. And the Mets, coming from way back twice, have now taken the 9-7 lead.
Well, maybe yesterday's comeback has some resonance beyond just one day. There's Travis d'Arnaud, who began his home run parade.
Hanging slider right here. Right in the wheelhouse, and he crushed it. Chris Young. And there's the reaction from your skipper.
Yeah, he's happy. Mets' first 4-home run game of the year.
Who would have thought the Mets would have made all those pitching moves today and it worked for the offense?
d'Arnaud, Granderson, Young, and now Young. Double Young. Forever Young. 1-1 for Claiborne. And Duda takes 2-1. So now, if you're the Mets, you got the lead going to the bottom of the 8th. What are you going to do with your bullpen? Ooh. I mean, you brought in Mejia to get 1 out in the 7th. Will you leave him out there for the 8th?
No, you can't. He's been starting. You asked him to get 1 out. Can't ask him to go back out there, in my opinion.
No action right now in the Mets bullpen. Or to use Torres and Rice. And I'm not if Herman is available. Familia's worked 3 straight days. I'm not sure if he's available. Farnsworth is the guy you've been saving for the 9th recently. So it might be that Mejia has to pitch the 8th inning. Two from Claiborne to d'Arnaud. Strike 3 called, and that's the 2nd out of the inning.
Fastball.
Home runs in 4 straight innings for the first time in 9 years.
Whoa.
2005, almost a week away from 9 years to the day. Last time the Mets homered in 4 consecutive innings. Here's Tejada, who's 0 for 3. Yankee bullpen really struggling. Aceves gave up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Thornton 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Claiborne gives up a home run to the first man he faces. Chris Young's 2-run shot putting the Mets in front for the first time since it was 1-0. 1-1 to Tejada. The Yankees will have the lower third of the order coming up at the bottom of the 8th, and I don't know whether that affects how you use your bullpen, but it certainly appears as though Mejia's going back out there. I mean, remember, Henry started the game just 3 days ago.
That's what I'm talking about. What are they talking about this weekend? You're a starter. You're protected. Once you get in that bullpen, we're going at you.
Well, it's his first day back in the bullpen in a couple of years. He's got a chance to be a winning pitcher. Starting core.
Playoff appearance.
2-2 to Tejada. Mejia threw 3 pitches in the bottom of the 7th and struck out Soriano. It's pretty cool, doesn't it? Yeah. 2-2 from Claiborne, and Tejada grounds one foul. This inning started with the ball that Solarte played off to the side, struck by Campbell. It went off his wrist for a double. Duda a broken bat single to drive in Campbell with the tying run on a nice slide at home plate. And then Chris Young greeting Claiborne on his second pitch with a bullet of a 2-run homer. It's been some game. Again the 2-2. And Tejada lines one down the left field line. That's an extra base hit going to the corner. Boy, has Tejada swung the bat well tonight. That's the 3rd time he's hit the ball extremely hard. First time he's gotten a result. And the Mets have their 3rd extra base hit of this inning.
Fastball in, and it is in, and he turns. That's good hitting.
Object lesson the last 2 days on how to get your job back.
Loudest wake-up call ever.
But you're only as good as your last game, Gary.
Well, Eric Young is a triple away from the cycle, and normally say, well, but this guy, he might have a legitimate shot at one. He's already got 2 triples this year. If he hits it to left center, he's got the best shot. Right field corner is tough in this ballpark. Tejada at second and 2 out. Young singled in the first, doubled in the 5th, and a 2-run homer in the 7th, his first of the year. And Ewine flies one to shallow center. Coming on is Ellsbury. And the inning comes to an end, but a very productive inning for the Mets as they score 3 and grab the lead. Chris Young's 2-run homer puts the Mets in front after Duda sacrifices a bat to get the tying run in. Young with his 3rd of the year. 9-7 Mets as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Well, Henry Mejia, now pitcher of record on the long side in his first relief outing in 2 years. The Mets having homered in 4 consecutive innings, lead the Yankees 9-7. And, you know, home runs, you think of the Babe here in the Bronx. Babe and Joe D. Lou Gehrig doing some fishing. It's nice stuff. Down here is Solarte. Leads off for the Yankees in the bottom of the 8th. Solarte 2 for 3, singled in a run his last time up in the 6th. Mejia faced one batter in the 7th, struck out Soriano. Now it's a ball and a strike to Solarte. Kelly Johnson and Brian Roberts to follow.
Did you see Henry quick pitch?
They all do the Troy Hawkins now. By the way, don't forget the Yankees have Ichiro Suzuki in their dugout as a prospective pinch hitter at some point. I don't know if they have Mark Teixeira available.
Yeah.
Joe Girardi wasn't sure before the game whether Teixeira could bat.
It didn't sound like he was, but I think he could be used as long as he was in that situation where they needed someone to pop a home run. Ichiro 10 for his last 27.
Little looper over short. That's a base hit for Solarte, his 3rd hit of the night. Tejada just not quite tall enough to reel that one in.
Just out of his reach. Beautiful.
Some pretty good ups for Ruben.
Very good.
So now the tying run comes to bat. Kelly Johnson, who has 4 home runs this year, 16 last year with Tampa Bay, hit a triple beyond Chris Young's reach in left center in the 6th inning to drive in a run. And Johnson takes the cutter for a strike. By the way, we mentioned the last time the Mets homered in 4 straight innings, 2005 in Philly. Jose Reyes in the 1st,
okay.
Victor Diaz in the 2nd, Piazza, Minkiewicz, and Diaz in the 3rd, and then Reyes in the 4th.
Whatever happened
to the sick bank park?
Whatever happened to Victor Diaz?
You know, he just he was a kind of an all or nothing guy with no position. He went to Texas, I think, after the Mets had him. He had some pop, though.
Was that game in Philadelphia, you were saying?
Yes, Citizens Bank Park. That might have been the game Reyes hit 3 home runs, no?
No, I think because I was broadcasting that. So 05, I didn't do it, yeah.
Because Reyes did hit 3 home runs in a game in Philly.
But I'm just saying he loved hitting his home runs there.
Different game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were enough home runs hitting that ballpark. But he had 1 and 2 on Kelly Johnson with Brian Roberts on deck. Johnson has to move his feet on that hard cutter. 2 and 2. Well, the movement he gets on what just his 4-seam fastball is amazing.
If he ever gets to the point where he can pinpoint it, game over.
And it looks like he's. I mean, you know that he's a max effort guy all the time, but he's throwing harder here in relief than he has as a starter.
Yeah, he's pumped up too, you know.
Who wouldn't be? Bouncer down to Duda. Gets the out at second. Returned by Tejada. In time. 3-6-3 double play.
This is as well done as a right-handed first baseman can do it. Look at that. Duda did it all. His quick release, getting rid of the ball, his footwork on the reverse spin, sets up the double play. Perfect. Comes, gets the ball, gets rid of it quick. Nicely done, Lucas. That's a big double play.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Brian Roberts is 0 for 3 tonight. And the curveball in for a strike. Bartolo Colon went 5 2/3. He's off the hook now. Gave up 7 runs, 6 earned on 11 hits. But Torres got 1 out, Rice got 2, and now Mejia's got 3. Ball and a strike to Roberts. He's throwing the kitchen sink. Not like he's throwing 1 pitch in relief. Well, Dan Warthen has maintained all along that Mejia could be a dominant relief pitcher. And now we're finding out.
I agree 100% with him. And why does Dan Warthen say that? Is because he's a max effort guy. There's Farnsworth up. But he's also got stuff that you take the hitter out of play sometimes. When he's on top of his game, hard to put the ball in play.
2-1. Roberts takes a strike. 2-2. Brett Gardner has had one huge swing tonight, waiting on deck. He has the only Yankee home run, but he scored 4. 2-2. Line toward the middle, base hit. So Gardner will come to bat as the tying run. Roberts with his first hit of the night. And the Yankees 13th.
Gardner having one of those nights also.
2 for 4, and one of the times he was retired, he had a bullet that Duda made a lunging stop on. So Duda's had a nice defensive game. David Robertson, the Yankee closer, is up. So odd to say Yankee closer and not say Mariano Rivera. By the way, just outside the ballpark, they've renamed the stretch of River Avenue Rivera Avenue. Perfect. Gardner tops one foul. Derek Jeter waiting on deck. You know, the Jeter Tour is coming to Citi Field. There's going to have to be a gift involved this week. Mariano got the fire hose.
Oh,
call box.
Call box, yeah.
I don't know what they're going to come up with for Jeter. Oh, 1 on the outside corner, a strike. Gardner certainly did not think so. 0-2.
I'd agree with Gardner there, wouldn't you?
I would be inclined to be on Gardner's side.
Roberts at first and 2 down. 0-2 to Brett Gardner.
I know he's throwing the kitchen sink at him. I'm not saying I totally agree with it. I think it's very difficult to come in a situation and have all 4 pitches working. Get 2 that you're comfortable with and stay with that. That's all he needs. Doesn't need any more than that.
He's got to come right back in with that cutter on his hands, doesn't he? That's low.
Slip. Got a spike caught.
It's all right.
It was a peculiar reaction there.
A little pirouette. Two and 2 to Brett Gardner. Strike 3 called. Inning over. Second strikeout in relief from Mejia. He gets 4 outs. And we head for the 9th in the Bronx. It's been a barn burner. Mets 9, Yankees 7. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by McDonald's. Start your morning off right at McDonald's with any size hot or iced coffee for just $1. Ninth inning, Mets up 9-7. Daniel Murphy will lead off against Preston Claiborne in the top of the ninth. Murphy 1 for 4 tonight. And if the Mets win this game, it will certainly overshadow the base running mistake that Murphy made in the 7th inning with Curtis Granderson at the plate when he was caught stealing to end that inning. Mets bailed him out by scoring 3 in the 8th. Line center field, and Murphy has his second hit of the night. 14 Met hits.
So it looks like the Yankees are suffering from some of the same things the Mets have suffered from. Some inconsistent bullpen pitching before you get to the closer.
Well, the Mets are tattooing the relief corps tonight.
Well, it started with the starter Kuroda. He gave up home runs to d'Arnaud and Granderson. Wound up giving up 4 runs in 6 innings, but then Aceves, Thornton, and now Claiborne have all been hit hard. David Wright 1 for 4 tonight. Drove in the first Met run with a ground out in the first inning. Mets were down 4-1, tied it, down 7-4, tied it, and then went in front of the 8th. Now Farnsworth on call for the 9th for the Mets. A save situation. Could be undone if Wright hits one out of the ballpark. Granderson on deck. The way the Mets have been hitting home runs these last few innings, you wouldn't bet against it. David had his home run cut. 1-1. Matt Daly grew up in Garden City. Up in the bullpen. Big Met fan.
I thought he was a Queens kid.
He born in Queens.
Okay.
He went to Garden City High School. It's almost Queens. That's not too far.
I'm still learning.
Western Nassau County. Garden City's nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
They have that long row that with the beautiful homes on it.
And the nice little shopping area. It just looks like a New Englandish kind of a thing.
Yep.
One from Claiborne, and Wright with a good cut fouls him back. 1-2. Round the Majors brought to you by Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com today. Terrible news on Jose Fernandez. Looks like he'll have Tommy John surgery. Jose Bautista, a 3-run shot. Mark Burley gets his 7th win as the Blue Jays beat the Angels 7-3. And Junior Lake, a home run, 4 RBIs. Cubs up 11-5 on the Cardinals in the 7th.
Bautista with 10 home runs. He went to Toronto, became a power hitter.
50-plus guy. Two and two to Wright with Granderson on deck. This low, 3-2.
And this is close.
Good call. Yep. Brooks had a good game.
3-2. Nobody out. Murphy at first. Farnsworth getting ready. Send him.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
You're up 2.
Absolutely.
Push the envelope.
Not even a shadow of a doubt.
There he goes. Wright strikes out. The throw on a hop goes into center field. Murphy up and running to third. Wright strikes out for the first out, but it's a productive out. Murphy steals the base and winds up at third on McCann's throw.
McCann, just not a very good throw. Almost hit the pitcher in the back of the head.
We're seeing a lot of the warts of this Yankee ball club here.
Well,
they got some issues.
You know, we all saw Brian McCann have some great years in Atlanta. I thought that was a terrible contract they gave him.
A lot of years, a lot of money.
5 years, $85 million for a guy, you know, who's had his body break down the last few years.
Well, they gave it to him because they figured he'd just flip him over the wall here like pancakes on a griddle.
Well, Yankees bring the infield in for Granderson, who has a single and a 2-run homer tonight. Jeter, the lone infielder on the left side. And Curtis takes up and in for ball 1. Eric Campbell, who doubled in his only at bat, is on deck. Murphy at third and 1 out. And Granderson takes a breaking ball strike, 1-1. Curtis enjoying his return to the Bronx tonight. First game back after signing a free agent contract with the Mets. And that enticing short porch has proved inviting again for not only him, but for d'Arnaud and for Eric Young as well.
I know you're right on the number. What did you say? 65.
65 home runs he's now hit in this ballpark.
Change up 2 in a row, back to back.
Well, Claiborne needing a strikeout ahead on Granderson, 1-2.
See if they go back to fastball up here. That's what he started the at bat with.
One-two. Struck him out on that high fastball. So back-to-back strikeouts for Claiborne, and now they're 2 out of the inning.
2 change-ups and up the ladder.
So now Campbell up for the second time. Hit a 2-hopper that ate up Yangervis Solarte, went off his arm for what was scored a double, as Campbell hustled his way to second base ahead of Gardner's throw, and then came home to score the tying run on another nice hustle play with a great slide at home plate.
Well, he filled in about every column you can. Can he fill in the 2-out knock?
You know, I'm wondering, going back to the run that Campbell scored, if they hadn't changed the plate blocking rule, would that play have gone differently?
It could have.
That would have been a play where the catcher would have buried the runner to save the game or save the lead.
Yep, that had to be a collision home plate.
Yep.
Everyone's got a good changeup, 1-1.
And you know something too? This is, we're going to show you the play here. Now, catcher has every right, not with the new rules, to block home plate and force Campbell to knock him down. But since you had a poster child in Mr. Posey in San Francisco who was hurt, would they have changed the rules of it in backup catcher? I doubt it.
Campbell shoots one foul. Play of the game brought to you by the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Lucas Duda robbed by Jacoby Ellsbury. Helps sometimes be left-handed.
Right.
Campbell in the DH spot. He batted for Abreu in the 8th inning. Claiborne gave up a leadoff hit. Murphy got to third with 1 out. Now there with 2 away. And Campbell down on the count, 1-2. Too high.
See certain kids come up, don't you? And he's not a kid. He's 26, 27 years old, right? And you watch him come up and you say to yourself, you know, he's going to get some playing time. You know, it just, you know, what was he, 450 on base percentage almost in AAA?
It's a guy who seemed to improve every year in the minor leagues. Had a great spring training with the Mets. Takes one the other way, chasing Soriano back, but who's there? And that retires the side. So the Mets strand Murphy, and now Kyle Farnsworth will come in and try and save it. Jeter, Ellsbury, and Murphy due up for the Yankees. Changes for the Mets. Chris Young moves from center field to left field. Juan Lagares comes in to play center field. And Kyle Farnsworth, who spent some time as a Yankee back in 06, 07, 08, will get himself a chance to get a save against the Yankees.
You know, there's games and there's games early in the season. This is game number 37. Got to have this one. Just too hard fought. Came back twice from 3 runs. Best game offensively in some time, and Farnsworth's got to muster up enough to get 3 outs.
The Mets have overcome 3 3-run deficits in the last 2 days. Rallied in the 9th,
yes,
and won in the 11th yesterday. Rallied twice today from 3 runs down. 4 home runs, a season high. Great work from the Met bullpen. Torres, Rice, Mejia after Colon's struggle. But now they're going to get through 2, 3, and 4. But the caveat on that is that Beltran is out in that 4th spot. John Ryan Murphy batted for him in the 7th and is in the DH spot. So it's Jeter, Ellsbury, and Murphy. And then if anybody gets on, McCann.
Boy, you'd love to see that late scoring, don't you? Sorry, Gary.
I was just going to say, it all starts with Jeter. If you can get him out to start this inning, it changes the entire nature of this 9th inning.
Does he ever make an out in this situation?
Not often. He's 3 for 4 tonight, but he's only 1 for 7 in his career against Farnsworth. Jeter now with 3,348 hits, 8th on the all-time Major League hit list. Mets 9 runs, 14 hits, 1 error. Yankees 7 runs, 13 hits, 1 error. We start the bottom of the 9th. Farnsworth, the closer of the moment. It can change any time now.
A little coded message there.
A little scribble in the dirt.
Hieroglyphics.
And Jeter watches one wide, ball 1.
Talking to himself. Stay back.
Ellsbury on deck. And that one also misses the corner. 2-0.
All of a sudden, Mike Estabrook doing a little Archie Bell on the strike zone.
Farnsworth a day off yesterday, gave up a run in his outing on Saturday night that made him the losing pitcher in the top of the 9th against the Phillies. In that outing, he got the first 2 men out, then gave up a walk and a couple of hits. Ryan Howard had the game winner. Here presented with a 2-run lead to try and save in the bottom of the 9th. 2-1 to Jeter. Well off the plate. Now it's 3-1. Now, the one thing he can't do is walk.
Well, was that a 2-1 slider?
No, I think it was a sinker, just a bad one.
(3-1) coming to Jeter, and he did walk him. Wow. So Farnsworth puts himself in immediate jeopardy. Jeter's on base for the 4th time tonight, and Ellsbury will come to the plate as the tying run. Ellsbury is 1 for 5 in his career against Farnsworth. That one was a home run. Tonight he's 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. High fly ball, center field. Lagares has plenty of room. 1 out. So Ellsbury going after the first one, looking for the long ball and coming up short.
He had a pitch to hit. He was just a little tiny bit late.
And now Mark Teixeira has walked out of the Yankee dugout. He's going to pitch in. Well, we didn't know if Teixeira was going to be available tonight. Joe Girardi was non-committal before the game. Didn't know whether Tex could loosen up enough to come up and pitch in, but here he is.
Hit a game-tying home run off Frankie Rodriguez in yesterday's ball game.
This is the time for it anyway.
And that's after he had hurt himself running the bases earlier in that game. Dan Orthen out for a conversation. Teixeira has done well against Farnsworth, 2 for 6 with a home run.
But if he's not running well, perfect if he can get the ball on the ground.
Yep.
Turn 2.
Teixeira with 7 home runs, 16 driven in. After wrist surgery cost him most of last year.
That's why this ballpark is so tough now. They've got, without a double play, 2 shots at it.
Big shift on the infield, also in the outfield. And notice Chris Young in left field, really in the gap.
Jeter at first and 1 out. Teixeira pinch hitting in the DH spot. Up and away from Farnsworth, ball 1. Brian McCann on deck.
Farnsworth pointing off the mound to right, just making sure if he gets a comeback or who's going to throw it to.
2-0.
Well, Teixeira's got one thing in mind here, and that's something to lift, and I just don't think that Farnsworth is going to come in. He's going to run that sink away, Ron.
Just concentrate on down. That's the key here. One of the rare high ball hitters. It's Teixeira.
Switch hitter batting left. There's a strike. Boy, Mike Estabrook had to think about that one. 2-1.
This was a mistake here. Look at the catcher set up outside, and he got it down and in, and I think it fooled Teixeira. 2-0. You got to be looking middle in, don't you? Fastball away.
2-1 to Teixeira. And he misses badly with that one, and again he's behind 3-1. It's not coming easily for Farnsworth. Teixeira the tying run at the plate. Farnsworth behind 3-1. Line drive right field, base hit. Jeter around second. He'll go to third.
Granderson plays the carom. Teixeira has to stop at first, and that's huge because he carries the tying run.
Oh,
just not running well enough to be able to get 2 bases on that.
Did you see him? He was hobbling, and they're going to have a pinch runner here. Fastball away. I mean, he didn't have that point anywhere. He didn't get it there. Teixeira sitting on it outside. And this should be a double, and he is just not running well. That is made huge that it's only a single.
Brendan Ryan will run for Teixeira, carrying that tying run. He's upset with himself for not being able to get to second.
There's nothing he can do.
Body's just betraying him.
Courageous enough to go out there and get that hit.
So Jeter at third, Ryan the tying run at first, and McCann the batter. And there's no safety net behind Farnsworth. McCann 1 for 4 tonight. Tying runs on base, 1 out. And that one misses, ball 1. Well, the Mets are revamping their bullpen on the fly. Jose Valverde is going to get up and start to throw. Young arms are coming, but not right now. The 1-0.
Oh,
off
boy.
the corner, 2-0.
You got to be looking middle in right now. 2-0. If you don't get it, spit on it.
Soriano on deck.
Looks like to me Farnsworth just aiming the ball, Keith, not letting it go.
Darno out for a conversation, maybe a little encouragement as well. Tejada comes in. And Worthington wants to know who can be ready in a hurry. Farnsworth gave him the leadoff walk to Jeter. Ellsbury flying out to center, but then he fell behind Teixeira, who got a pinch hit single. Now McCann is capable of winning this game with 1 swing. Farnsworth behind 2-0. Hit hard. Duda with a great stop. Gets the force, the return in time, and the ball game is over. Lucas Duda with a great defensive game, start to finish, makes a brilliant play and starts his second double play of the night. And in an absolute thriller, the Mets win it 9-7. Unbelievable finish. Now Girardi is coming out, and he might want to challenge the final call. He's challenging whether Duda was off the base on the return throw, and what a strange situation this is. The Mets are celebrating, giving high fives, doing the handshake line, and officially the ball game is not yet over. Duda took the throw. Was he on the bag?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. So this is going to be upheld.
What a nice play by Lucas. Look at Farnsworth getting out of the way. He's on the corner of the bag.
Well, the umpires have just walked off the field, so it appears there is no challenge. And the Mets have won it 9-7.
What a play by Duda.
I mean, he had the defensive game of his life tonight here at Yankee Stadium.
That is a tie ball game. Runner on second base. Bullet. Oh, what a play.
I'll give you one caveat, though. If he misses it, does Murphy make the play? Because Murphy was right behind him.
For 1 out, not 2.
Right.
So 3-5-3 in your scorebook.
David Wright.
David Wright, the only man on the left side of the infield. So Duda, and that's quite a throw by David with the runner Ryan bearing down on him. Duda turns a 3-6-3 and a 3-5-3. The Mets hit 4 home runs, and they win an absolute barn burner from the Yankees, 9-7 in the